Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side Podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with the Riv and Andrew Velez, and this is now episode 94. In this episode, we will talk about whether or not the Nets season was successful, preview the Hawks versus Bucks series, give an outlook on the Jazz and 76ers offseason, and give a winner for the Kemba Walker trade. Then we'll transition to the NFL and debate about which QB is under the most pressure, Carson Wentz or Matthew Stafford, and who will win the Patriots quarterback competition. To end off the show, we'll talk about Calvin Johnson calling out the Lions and the backlash Cole Beasley has been receiving. This is now episode 94. If you guys would like to, you can rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts. We recently had a video on TikTok go viral, and it has created a spike in the podcast download numbers. So if you guys have been downloading the podcast, we appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys are here to stay because we got a lot more coming. So this guy. Oh my gosh. It took me 3 takes to do that intro, by the way. If you guys are listening, it took me 3 takes. Kind of rusty right now.
It's all right, man. You did your thing right.
Had a 4-day break, but now we're here. This probably won't be that long of an episode. I'm looking forward to talking about a few topics. Obviously the basketball topics, but I can't wait to talk about that Cole Beasley topic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with it on Twitter or not.
No, not really.
It is pretty insane.
Okay.
It is pretty
insane. I'm banned from Twitter, so it's hard to really get all the information, the deeds and stuff.
But you use the Pick a Side Twitter.
Yeah, but it's more, all I see is basketball. I don't really see Cole Beasley and stuff. So
come on, bro. Pick a side. We do football too.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
It's all right, man. You got to get on that.
You guys don't retweet a lot of stuff. If you retweet things, I get to see it.
Okay.
So
you don't follow me on the Pick a Side Twitter.
He doesn't follow you on the Pick a Side.
It's your Twitter now, bro.
Yeah, but he chose to not follow you.
All right.
You can't follow people on brand accounts, man.
Nah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
You can't. It's just not. It doesn't look.
The only people I follow
right.
is like people that gives me news.
Mm-hmm.
So
fair enough.
Nudes?
No, news. News.
So I went to the Nets versus Bucks game 7 game, and obviously the Bucks won, the Nets lost, and I don't feel bad about it. I would have felt worse if the Bucks blew the Nets out of the water, but it took a Kyrie injury, Harden's hamstring injury, which he was playing through a grade 2 hamstring, which is pretty crazy. I mean, after that, I definitely fear the beard. And it took the Bucks 7 games and overtime to beat the Nets.
I'm glad we're getting right into it. I'm really glad.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
So obviously the Nets had expectations to win a championship this season. Would you classify this season as a failure for the Brooklyn Nets?
Failure is failure is such a strong word. Is it a unsuccessful season? Yes, but should they feel bad about it? No. This year dealing with all the injuries and the fact that everybody was hurt, walking into the playoffs, you didn't have your 3 best guys at the same time, only for the Boston series. It was tough to even go into that Milwaukee game. Granted, they did have opportunities to win that series nonetheless, but I think this year you got even though we only got about 13 games of the big 3 playing together, you kind of got a taste of what they're going to be going down the line, and just getting those guys healthy next year should be the goal. But I think this year, being that the goal was championship or bust, obviously it has to be an unsuccessful season, but I don't think the Nets fans should feel bad about it. This is the team that everybody admitted would beat them. If not for any other team, Milwaukee would be their biggest challenge. And granted, like you said, Kyrie getting hurt, Harden playing on a bad hamstring, still 7 games, Kevin Durant did everything he could. So I think they should feel good about this season. They should feel good about the fact that they've grown as a team, and the next year should be the real championship or bust season.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. I think next season fans definitely should be looking forward to. But if we're talking strictly about this season, I think I have to look at it as a failure. I mean, you have Kevin Durant, Harden, Kyrie. KD just came off a torn Achilles. You really didn't expect him to be the one out of the 3 to play this deep into the season. You have Harden, who has up until this point been basically have a clean bill of health his entire career. Then you have Kyrie, who's been since leaving Cleveland, has struggled with some injuries. Even back in his time with Cleveland, he struggled with an ankle injury in the finals. So I feel like you look at anything other than a championship this year with those three guys together on the same team, I feel like I have to look at it as a failure, especially with the extra year of miles on all three of these guys' body, especially with KD, the way that he was playing. He's playing the best basketball of his career. The fact that not one of those guys could show up for him and help him out to get him to the next round was truly surprising to me. Of course, like you mentioned, Harden playing with a grade 2 hamstring. I'm not going to crucify him that much. But you think he's 25% of himself. This is an easy win for the Nets. And I just feel like without a championship, you put these three together for no reason, essentially. But, of course, if we're looking towards the future, I'm pretty confident these three could get it done. But off this season alone, it's got to be a failure.
The goal was to make the NBA Finals. The goal was to win the NBA championship. The goal was to prove me right in saying they were going to win they were going to win the championship. Because if they would have won, I would have been right in the NFL and in the NBA. I would have been 2 for 2. It would have boosted up my resume a lot. But because the Nets didn't do that, it's I feel bad about it. Now I'll say a couple things.
About the crying.
We look at this Nets team and they've went through a ton of adversity. Harden with the hamstring injury, grade 2. It takes 4 weeks to recover. He came back in a week to help the Nets win. Huge props to him, but I'll get into him in a minute. LaMarcus Aldridge retired. That was big. And they could have really used him this series. I think he would have been that difference. LaMarcus Aldridge, definitely. Jeff Green was injured too. He came back prematurely. And then Kyrie, his ankle injury. The Nets had so much going against them, and it still took the Bucks everything they had and more to beat them in an overtime game on the road. And I think right now we can possibly say the Bucks should be the favorites to win the finals. If it's not them, it's Phoenix.
Yep.
It's either them or Phoenix. Either way, they're one of the favorites.
The healthiest teams.
Exactly. Either way, they're one of the favorites. I said it before the series. Whoever wins this series, I think, is winning the championship. And I hope that's not the case because I hope Phoenix does beat Milwaukee because right now everybody, I made a video about Giannis on TikTok and everybody's like, oh, you still think Giannis can't be the best player on the championship team? He hasn't won a championship yet. Let's see if he wins a championship. This is his best shot to win it. We'll see if he does it. But the Nets have a ton of free agents. Spencer Dinwiddie, Blake Griffin, Jeff Green, and Bruce Brown and Mike James are restricted free agents. Dinwiddie's gone. He's leaving. I don't know where, but he's leaving, and I'm glad. Because this guy's one of the cockiest players in the NBA. All he does is talk smack on Twitter, especially about the Knicks, which is why I despise Dinwiddie. And Dinwiddie's a role player. He's not. He thinks he's a star, but he's not a star. He's a 6th man of the year candidate if he comes off the bench. He's a borderline starter. If he starts for a team at point guard anywhere else, he is what Reggie Jackson was to Detroit. Just a fill-in starter. That's what Dinwiddie is. He's nothing special.
Sheesh.
Blake Griffin is probably going to leave. I think he played his way into a nice contract. I don't think he comes back to Brooklyn on the vet minimum because the Nets they're over the cap by $46.4 million. So Blake Griffin, Jeff Green, possibly gone unless they want a ring chase. I think Bruce Brown stays, and he's very important. But the good thing about 2021 is that there are a lot of veteran free agents. You got Iguodala, J.J. Redick, whose family lives in Brooklyn and wanted to get traded to Brooklyn because he wanted to be with his family more. If I was Brooklyn, I'd trade Joe Harris, get another player, and sign Redick because he would take the minimum, I think, to be with his family and to be closer to them for the majority of the season. Ibaka, if he declines his option, PJ Tucker's an option, JaVale McGee, Biyombo, Carmelo, we talked about that before the podcast, going to the Lakers, Dwight Howard, Danny Green, Trevor Ariza. There are a lot of guys who could take the vet minimum and play with Brooklyn next season, so that's the good thing. Was this season a failure? Absolutely. Will they come back better next year? Absolutely. Will they win the championship next year? Absolutely. The Heat did not win a championship in their first year together with the Big Three. They actually lost to Dallas, and in my opinion, that loss to Dallas was more disheartening than the Nets loss to Milwaukee because Heat were the favorites by far against Dallas,
overwhelming.
and they were healthy. So
not a question.
The Big Three. So the big three in Miami didn't win a championship the first year. Nets didn't win a championship the first year, but they will their second year, and I have no doubt about it.
Oh, God. Let me tell you why it's a little different. This team, when you built this team, you knew the risk of building this team. Injuries were going to play. The only thing, and I said it before, the only thing that's going to damage the Nets is injuries. Injury-prone Kyrie, and we thought injury-prone KD. James Harden now all of a sudden catching the injury bug with a hamstring. This was the only thing that was going to threaten their chances at coming out the East, and that's going to be the same thing next year. Injuries are going to play into a factor with their three best guys. One guy goes down, it's damaging. Either Kyrie or Harden, we've seen it's still damaging. Harden coming back earlier than expected. We wanted him to play his heart out, but it still didn't affect the Bucks that much. They're up 3-2. They lose 2 straight. Game 6 in Milwaukee, and then they lose Game 7 in Brooklyn. I just think, with this team, that's always going to be a risk. I don't think guys like P.J. Tucker is going to leave the team. He just might go to the chip with. I think guys like Melo is going to look to play with LeBron. Serge Ibaka, I think he's going to want to stay with his buddy Kawhi if they end up staying on the Clippers. I see, people want to go to the Nets, but I don't know, with the team being the top 3 guys being injury prone, it's going to be hard to really bring guys like that. And then you said trade Joe Harris. Granted, he played terrible the last 4 games. Once they left Brooklyn the first time, he just fell off a cliff. But he has led the league in three-point percentage, I think 2 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely one. J.J. Redick, I don't think he's as good as a shooter as Joe Harris is right now. Right now, I don't think.
You're taking him?
I would disagree.
I don't think
they're the same shooter, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think I would probably keep the 6'6" guy. Being that he's already with that team, he's fitting that system. And considering the fact that his stock is probably low right now, considering how bad he just played the last 4 games, I don't know what you're going to get out of him. I don't know what else you need at him. But getting J.J. Redick would probably be good too. I think if you can keep both guys, you would get both. But it's going to be tough because this team is going to be dealing with injuries nonstop, and now Harden's a part of that plug. And what are they going to do with DeAndre Jordan?
This is the thing. DeAndre Jordan, I think, has to get traded. Maybe to OKC, got to give up a pick to get rid of him because he's taking up a bunch of cap
just sitting
space.
there.
But this is the thing. Joe Harris, to me, I just don't trust him in the playoffs because this isn't the first time that he stunk it up in the playoffs. Yeah. It's been 2 series already that he's done it versus Philly and now Milwaukee, where you need him a lot. And J.J. Redick, to me, is the same level of shooter as him. Harris is better off the dribble. He can get to the basket better because he's younger. Granted, I understand that.
Harris is 30.
All right, he's still younger. Is he not younger than J.J. Redick?
But come on. You made it seem like he's
30 is prime in basketball, though.
That's true.
That's still prime.
Yeah, that's true.
J.J., I think you can't have both because Joe Harris, if
J.J. comes for the minimum.
That's true, but if Harris stays, Redick is not going to get any minutes. Landry Shamet is still there.
Mm-hmm.
You could take Shamet. You would definitely want Redick to take Shamet minutes.
I don't know.
Shamet played relatively well.
Shamet played well. He played well.
So you would keep Shamet, but trade Joe and
because you could get something of value for trading Joe Harris right now.
Right now,
he had a bad playoff series, but you look at everything else.
He's getting paid $18 million.
If I'm the Nets, what I'm doing.
Well, they said Joe is a Brooklyn. He's a Net. That's what they said.
Whatever. Everybody says that before they get traded.
That's true.
So it doesn't really matter.
They traded IT. Anything can happen.
All I'm saying is that the Nets, they should trade Joe Harris because I think they don't need a guy like that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's tough to say because he's a great 3-point shooter, but they have enough offense. With KD, Kyrie, and Harden, they have enough offense. They just need players to fill in. What they really need on that starting lineup to replace Harris is a 3-and-D player. Who's that? Look,
Iggy?
The perfect player for the Nets, who I think would go to the Nets because he's close with Harden, he's close with KD, is P.J. Tucker. P.J. Tucker would elevate them to the next level.
He's going there.
Where would he go? If he
I think he would stay.
I was going to say,
why would he stay in Milwaukee?
They're about to win a chip.
Yeah, they are.
If they don't win, why would he stay?
But if they do win, why would he go to play with the team he just beat? He just beat you.
Because he's really close with Kevin Durant and James Harden.
I don't see it personally.
I don't know about that.
I see it.
If he wins a chip, I don't see PJ. I don't see PJ going to play with you guys after he just won a chip with that team. I think he'll stay.
Even then, I see JaVale McGee as an option.
Okay,
I think he would be really good. Look,
you need a defensive big,
and maybe not even Redick. If I was Brooklyn, I'd probably prioritize Danny Green over Redick and I'd have Danny Green, who's a defender and a 3-point shooter, knockdown guy. So that's what I would do if I'm Brooklyn. So I think that's what's next for the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, the season was not a success. Nobody can call it a success if they didn't win a championship. And before we move on, I want to say this about James Harden. He shot 2 for 12 from 3, 5 for 17, I believe, from the field for
22.
the game. It wasn't 22.
It wasn't?
It wasn't.
Must be thinking of somebody else.
Do your fact checking, man.
You got it wrong, too.
No, it wasn't. It's
You said, I think.
It's 5, I think.
I thought it was 5.
5 for 17,
Okay.
2 for 12, 9 rebounds, 9 assists.
How many points did he end up with?
22, surprisingly.
James Harden was on a bad hamstring. He came back prematurely. I'm just glad he didn't get hurt again and didn't have an even more severe injury. But he has to play better. Even with the bad hamstring, he got open shots and didn't hit them. If he hits some of those open shots, they win the series and they go on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So James Harden, even though I love him to death, he reminds me a lot of Luka, like I've mentioned before on this podcast. The difference with Luka is that he steps up in really big moments. We've seen Luka in 2 playoff series back-to-back be one of the best playoff performers that we've seen in the last 10 years and in history since I've been watching basketball. Harden has not been that. Harden, when you need him the most, there's still that nervousness that he's not going to be what he was in the regular season, and that's the difference with Luka. So James Harden, he has to win a championship, and he has to be one of the main catalysts for winning that championship next year because I love Harden, but I can't keep defending him. He was missing open shots, and
I agree. I think
it sucks. It sucks, but it is what it is. That's the truth about James Harden. There's no way around it.
I agree. I think if you granted, I understand he was hurt, but I think if you go out there and you play, then you are due for any criticism that you're about to get because you decided to go out there and play. You know how hurt you are. But if you go out there and you play Game 6, Game 7, he played bad Game 6 too, but if you go out there and you decide.
I was going to say Game 6, he played well. Game 5, he really didn't play that well.
Okay, pardon me. Game 5. Pardon me. It wasn't Game 6.
But Game 5, he was huge because all he did was space the court for KD to play ISO ball.
Yeah, but KD had spacing regardless.
Agreed.
So it wasn't really just Harden. KD had spacing no matter what. But I agree with Joel. I think if you go out there and play, you have to give it your all. You have to play better if you're that type of player. So he has to just be better. Granted, he did buck up, go out there with a grade 2 hamstring and tried to save the series, and I respect that from him as a player, but you got to be out there and you got to play better. You got to help KD. And that goes for everybody. The healthy guys, Joe Harris, Blake Griffin played good, but guys like that who are supposed to be hitting their shots have to step up and play better. It
gets to a point where you're too cold that you need to realize, okay, something's not working. I need to do something else. And I know that he has an injured hamstring, and he obviously looked like he didn't have his legs underneath him. But try and do something else. Maybe run a pick and roll where you know what, you're not putting 100% weight on that hamstring as you're driving to the basket. Maybe, you fake driving to the basket where your name's James Harden, so obviously people are going to come crash and you make that extra pass. He had 9 assists, 7 assists, 8 assists in the 3 games that he played, respectively. 9 in Game 7.
Respectfully.
Respectively.
Respectfully.
No, respectively. That's like in that order. Respectfully
I
is
get
me
what
saying,
you're saying.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
no worries. So it's not. He was trying to do other things in that asset, but you realize you're not making your shots. Don't keep taking them. I know that you're James Harden. I know that you can make these, but it gets to a point where you're hurting your team more by missing these open shots. Do something else. I agree with what you said about Luka too, but I also disagree because Harden has had a significant bigger moments than what Luka's had to endure in round 1. If we're going to compare a round 1 series compared to a Western Conference Finals as he had to go through in Golden State.
You want to know why?
Let me finish though.
Talk about it.
Luka, he definitely came through, but he lost both those series.
Not as a favorite.
He agreed, but he still lost them.
Okay.
He showed up. He played well. The last 2 games against the Clippers, he did not play that well.
Yeah, he did.
No, in the fourth quarter, he didn't play well.
In the fourth quarter, he dropped
in multiple
off.
games. In multiple games, he went ghost in that fourth quarter.
I agree, but you look at the final stat line: efficient numbers.
Of course, cool, but the fourth quarter.
If you want to look at Harden's stat line: 22, 9, and 9.
5 for 17 is not efficient.
Let's go look
2
at
for
Luka's.
12 is not efficient.
I'm not. But you said the final stat line.
Go to Luka.
22, 9, and 9 looks
Luka
firm.
averaged about 30
yeah, bro, he was
points.
insane. He was insane.
But the fourth quarter, he was bad. And that's when it matters.
Luka was 17 for 30, 5 for 11 in Game 7. He had he had 46.7 rebounds and 14 assists.
And in that fourth quarter,
I agree, but he shot over 50% from the field and close to 50% from three.
Mm-hmm.
That Harden was just not good
in
at
game
all.
6 at home, where he could have closed. Luka went 2 for 9 from 3, 11 of 24.
No doubt about it. But that's not as bad as what Harden went.
Oh no, and I agree.
That's when they unleashed the robot.
It's just different moments. That's all I'm saying. Harden's had to deal with a lot more pressure than a 22-year-old.
I mean, this
Luka.
is Luka's second playoff, so I'm not going to disagree with you. Mm-hmm. Harden has been in more high leverage moments, but also James Harden in the first round has not been very good. I remember in Houston, just in 2020 last year against OKC, he was not good on offense. Yeah. He had a really bad shooting series. The year before that against Utah, he wasn't good offensively. He picked it up against Golden State, but in those round ones, he really hasn't been exceptional. So Harden does drop off in the playoffs, and I think for him, obviously he's old now. He's 32 years old. He's still he's getting
up there fast.
He's getting up there in age. James Harden has to change his game. With the new rules that are coming in the NBA about the fouls and stuff, James Harden has to change his game because there were so many moments in Game 7. I'm looking at that game, and Harden is coming off the pick and roll. Only Brook Lopez in front of him, but he's about 3 feet back from him. And Harden doesn't even think about pulling up a mid-range shot.
He used to do that.
And that hasn't
early on in Houston.
And that hasn't been in his game for about 4 years.
Correct.
And it's the most frustrating part of James Harden's game because he can hit that shot. And if he were to take that shot, it would be better. In Game 7, he was an east to west player. All he was doing was running around the perimeter, dribbling around the perimeter. He wasn't even thinking about driving to the basket, but even fully healthy, all he does is shoot threes or drive to the basket. He has to expand his game more and shoot from different spots on the court because every great player that we know does that. Luka does that. Kawhi does that. LeBron does that. KD does that.
Hell, even Paul George does it.
Paul George does it. James Harden needs to do that, and he needs to add that onto his game or add it back into his game. That's how the Nets can take the next step because Harden, while he's an unstoppable force on offense, his game is predictable. And he has to start adding some unpredictabilities into his game because that's why he's efficient. He's inefficient like this.
And that's interesting that you say that, talking about, the war between analytics and guys who watch basketball. It's interesting that you bring up the mid-range. And I think with that, it comes with Harden. When he comes off the screen, he's more looking for the foul than pulling up for the mid-range. And like you said, guys like Luka, we've seen it this year. Devin Booker,
I was going to say
Donovan
the exact
Mitchell,
same
Paul
name.
George. Guys, even Trae Young with the little floater. Like, you've seen guys expanding their offensive game to not just the three-point line and go into the basket. You've seen mid-range. Even his teammate, Kevin Durant, straight pick and roll, come up at the elbow, take the pull-up jump shot. He does that repeatedly. And it's effective. It works. It's a great shot. And it's something that opens up your game and open up everybody else's game. And I think Harden, I don't think he needs to add it. Like you said, I think he needs to bring it back on what he used to have in his game. He used to have that mid-range jump shot. He just needs to come back, especially now, like you said, 32. He has a hamstring injury, so that's kind of going to affect him as the age is. So he needs to definitely evolve and get that back into his game because if he gets that, then it's like, what can you do? He can go to the basket. He can hit the step back three. He can take the mid-range. And people give him that space. He has enough ball handling moves to get that space and take that mid-range jump shot.
Another thing is, I wonder if James Harden just didn't come into this season fully in basketball shape because he had his mindset on, I want out of Houston, get me out of Houston. This is not a winning organization. I need to go somewhere else. Trade me to Brooklyn. So I wonder if he purposely put his body through something that he had never experienced before, and this is the first time we're seeing James Harden go through some injury of any sort, truthfully. So I wonder, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that Harden really held himself back this offseason?
I think he was so used to playing the way he played in Houston. I think coming in and then dealing with something he hasn't really dealt with in a while, which was the hamstring injury.
I mean, he's had that in the past.
Hamstring injuries?
It's affecting him. This is not something new for him.
Yeah, I think like being what he was, being the Iron Man he was for so long and carrying that team. This is just, I feel like this year was just a new thing for him, a new environment. I feel like he'll be right back next year. It's just dealing with everything in and out of the lineup. The team wasn't really there. I think that really affected him too.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that KD and Harden are going to play for USA basketball.
They love hooping.
I don't think that's going to help them in terms of being healthy.
Too, man. Be a sick team.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to help them in terms of being healthy next season, but we'll see what happens. We know that that's their biggest problem, their biggest concern, health.
For
But
sure.
I also do think they can sign some good free agents. I hope Jeff Green comes back. I think Bruce Brown is coming back. I would love PG Tucker to go there, JJ Redick or Danny Green. I think they can sign one of those 3 players and then run it back.
I think Danny Green would probably be the best guy.
JaVale McGee too. They need a rim protector who has strength.
What about a guy like Torrey Craig?
I would love Torrey Craig.
You look at a lineup like this. There's just no way you can't think that these guys are going to the finals next year. Like that has to be your thought in your head.
It's gonna be Atlanta.
A healthy KD. Yeah, I know you were kidding, but a healthy KD, a healthy Harden, a healthy Kyrie.
That's the thing.
There's
Though. You
no
keep
one
saying
stopping
a healthy.
them. Oh no, for sure. You saw it this year, but this was also a shortened season. It's not like the Nets were the only ones experiencing injuries. So I mean, I look for next season to be completely different. And
I mean, they're playing Team USA basketball, and the season starts in October. So when does USA basketball end?
It probably is going to be, I'm guessing it's going to be maybe 1 to 2 months. And if that's the case, it's going to end in August. Or September.
And they'll be right back to it in about a month. I think training camp will be in September.
They'll be in shape.
I was going to say,
season.
yeah.
They'll be in shape.
That's probably because USA basketball starts in June, July. So they basically had no time to rest. We'll see.
Yeah, LeBron's definitely not playing now. You
Curry
say that.
said it's quiet.
He's not playing?
CP said he's not playing.
That's such a shame, man. They could have just...
Curry, it's raps. He's trying to rest. Kept carrying
They could put together the all-time great lineup, bro.
I can't believe people still think Golden State is going to make the finals next year. It's
really?
ridiculous.
I think they're going to make the playoffs. Finals is
the fact that Klay hasn't played in 2 seasons.
People think that Klay just going to come back and be superhuman.
Klay Thompson. Well,
I think he'll come back and just...
Did you think KD would be this?
KD?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
He did it.
Listen, don't let him lie to you.
I didn't think KD would be this. But also,
he be this?
KD.
Look at his game. I swear to God, I said he was going to be this. I said he was going to be the same player.
The exact same player.
Actually, I dead said that.
Now, he said it, but KD's not coming off for 2 years, not playing.
Yeah, 2 years.
Klay
is
true.
That's 2 years. That's a lot of time.
But Klay's game is pretty easy to just come in and just. I think the defense will be a little bit gone. I don't think he's shooting.
And that's half of his game.
Yeah, I don't think his shooting to be gone.
That's
I agree with
the
that
most
statement.
important half of his game,
Correct.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
He's the
Shooting and
greatest
defense.
3-and-D player ever.
He's not better than J.R. Smith.
You got to say.
I'm playing. The 2 teams that are in the Eastern Conference Finals are the Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks. And I think we all saw the Bucks making it this far, but Atlanta was definitely a surprise. They weren't favorites to beat the Knicks in the first round, and now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals.
We all picked Philly.
I picked Philly. I definitely picked Philly.
Philly.
I thought that series should have ended in 5, but Philly blew leads. So it is what it is. The Bucks are 2-1 against the Hawks this season in the regular season, but Trae Young didn't play for 2 of those games. Trae Young has been averaging 29 and 10 in the playoffs. And first of all, do you think Trae Young is going to continue being this dominant against the Bucks, facing Jrue Holiday? That's going to be his primary defender, or do you think he's going to drop off? And just preview the series for me.
Well, first of all, Trae played one of those matchups, and he actually played really horrible in that matchup that he did play in. I think, this series should end in 5. I think Milwaukee is a little bit more disciplined than Philly. I think Philly, what they just lacked was discipline and adjustments. I think Milwaukee's going to have that in here. I don't think Atlanta has the personnel to guard Milwaukee. I think their best defenders won't play this playoff series, so it's going to be a tough matchup against Middleton, Holiday, and Giannis, of course. They got Clint, they got John Collins, but they don't have any wing depth on the defensive end and no guard depth on the defensive end. So I think it's going to be a tough go for them. Jrue Holiday, I believe, is a better defender than anybody on Philly. I think the closest is Matisse, but I think Jrue Holiday is one of the best defensive guards in the league. So it's going to be tough for Trae Young. And it's rough because a team like Milwaukee, Trae Young running that pick and roll, right? And seeing Joel Embiid, who's a walking 300 pounds on a bad meniscus, is a lot different than seeing, Brook Lopez or Giannis. Those are guys who are really good rim protectors. And Jrue Holiday's a guy who likes to follow. You're not going to beat him as he beat Ben Simmons off the dribble easy. I think the problem with Ben Simmons was he struggles with quick, speedy guards, guys who are very quick. Jrue doesn't struggle with them. I think he's going to be there every play. So I think Milwaukee, this is really their chance because this is a team that I think they'll be able to outmatch and outmaneuver. But I think, honestly, it could go either way because Atlanta is just playing so great. Trae Young, what we've seen is he can be garbage for a half, the first 3 quarters and then light it up in the fourth. You know, he never lacks confidence. So it's going to be a tough series. But in my opinion, I got Bucks in 5.
Bucks in 5.
Yeah.
This is a tough one for me too, man. But something that you said there that stuck out with me is that the Hawks were able to take advantage of Doc Rivers' lack of adjustments. And I think about Milwaukee, and I think about the series that they just had with the Nets, and I think about how Budenholzer had all the pieces to beat the Nets. You had a depleted Nets team that I thought Milwaukee should have easily rolled over. I mean, you had Kevin Durant playing the best basketball of his career, in my opinion. But even still, you definitely had way more talent, way more depth, even with missing Dante DiVincenzo. You were playing against an injured Harden. You were playing against a team that didn't have Kyrie Irving. I feel like Budenholzer, they won in spite of Budenholzer to a degree. I didn't love the adjustments that he made. I felt like I would have put Giannis on KD way sooner in the series, even though we saw KD give it to Giannis early in Brooklyn. I still would have stuck that out. I mean, you have Giannis, who is the Defensive Player of the Year, All-NBA player, All-NBA defense. He should have been on KD significantly more than he was. So it worries me for sure against the Hawks, especially the way that the Hawks are right now. They're healthy, other than DeAndre Hunter and your boy Cam Reddish, where they're going to miss DeAndre Hunter this series against Middleton for sure. But I just feel like I'm looking at the Hawks right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the NBA. You could debate that it's between them and the Suns for hottest team right now. I would lean Phoenix just because they're going through a little bit tougher competition right now. But you look at the Hawks. The Hawks are playing overall great basketball on all ends, all sides of the basketball. You look at Bogdanovich, who struggled these last few games, and they still won in spite of that. You have a coach, right? You have a coach like Nate McMillan, who completely changed the culture over in Atlanta. And I am easily, if we're going strictly a coaching matchup, I'm taking Nate McMillan every day of the week. With all that being said, I still think Giannis and Middleton are going to be too much for the Hawks to handle inside. I just don't think they have the size to beat the Bucks. However, this series is going to be a lot better than what my boy Riv is thinking that it's going to be. I feel like the Bucks are going to take this, but it might go the distance. I think that the Bucks are going to win this one in 7. And I didn't even answer your question. Trae Young, I mentioned this on the last podcast, actually, but Trae Young, I feel like there is no one right now on planet Earth that could stop this man, Trae Young. Right now, there's no one that could stop him. Maybe a healthy Kawhi.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's the only one right now.
Make that clear.
If I didn't, I know you would have said something, but Trae Young is just...
Wait until you see PJ Tucker on him.
Yeah, you think so too?
That's an aggressive young man.
He is. He definitely is aggressive. But I feel like Trae would get his calls too, because Trae is smart enough.
They're letting him play.
I agree, but KD's not the type where, other than that swipe through. Well, of course, that swipe through move is what that changed basketball too. But Trae Young, I feel like he's adjusted to how the NBA's played, where his size he uses to his advantage, where that's where what he uses to draw a significant amount of his fouls. But Drew Holiday benefited from Harden being injured, because if Harden was 100%, there's no doubt in my mind Harden's cooking him. There's no one, I don't see anyone guarding Harden the way that Drew Holiday looked like he guarded Harden in that series. Harden's injury made Drew Holiday look like the best defender in the league, like you mentioned.
This is what I got to say. Trae Young has been phenomenal, but I think this is the matchup where he has a tough series. I thought it was last one because Thibault, Ben Simmons, Sixers had the personnel. They just didn't execute on it. I mean, they held Trae Young to some bad halves. They just couldn't keep it up.
Yeah.
I think Drew Holiday can keep it up. I'm not worried about Middleton because he's a guy that any team he plays in any series, he always gets to his spots. He always gets his shots.
For sure.
He just misses. That's really what it's been. You look at his home versus away numbers. Away, he's so much more worse.
Up at home.
That's true. That's true. But the thing,
Middleton's been amazing. I'm surprised you feel
on
this
the
way.
road, he's not been amazing, and he gets the same shots. He just misses. So Middleton, I don't think you need a lockdown defender on Middleton. He's either gonna make it or miss it. I mean, that's who he is. And until this season in the playoffs, he's been missing in the playoffs a lot. But I do think now it's changing. Hawks, they have a lot of offense. Bogey, Collins, Gallinari, Huter.
A lot of shooters.
Herder, my fault.
That's okay.
And Capella. But like you mentioned earlier, before the pod, I think, that there's nobody on the Hawks that can stop Giannis. Capella can't do it. Maybe they can try and build a wall with Gallinari.
I was gonna say a Collins Capella wall is the only thing I can think of.
Who you putting at the top? You need a wing, like not a speedy wing, but a versatile wing at the top.
I guess Bogdanovich or Horder.
It's too small.
I agree. Listen, that's why I feel like that Milwaukee's going to be too much for him to handle.
I just think that this series is not going to distance. I think this is a sweep. Out of respect for the Hawks and Trey, I might give them a game, but I think this is a sweep. When you just look at the Hawks versus the Bucks, starting lineup versus starting lineup, you got Trey, Bogdanovich, Herter, Collins, and Capella. You look at the Bucks, Holiday versus Trey. That's going to that's even because Trey is better, but I think Holiday will really neutralize him. Middleton, Bogdanovich, I'm giving that to Middleton.
Yep.
Tucker and Herter, I'm taking Tucker in that. To be a great defensive player, I think
they can switch everything.
Tucker can even be on Bogdanovich. Giannis versus Collins, that's Giannis. Lopez versus Capella. Lopez can space the floor and he's a good rim protector. I'm giving that to Lopez. So I think the Bucks just have a way better roster. And even with their lack of adjustments, I don't think this is a series where they need to adjust much because Giannis is going to be unstoppable. Middleton is going to be really good. And the Hawks, I don't think they have the defense to guard Milwaukee. So I think this is a sweep.
I just don't want to count them out. I mean, because
when you said Middleton, what I saw against Bucks and Nets, it was a lot of possessions where Bruce Brown made it really, really tough on Middleton, him losing the ball, him taking some really horrible shots, So I think if they would have had maybe like a DeAndre Hunter type of guy, 6'7", strong, it would have been really tough. But like you said, Middleton plays really, really well. I don't know he's kind of like Paul George. He plays really well at home, and on the road he just sucks. So I think this series, it's like the Bucks can switch everything. So aside from obviously Brook Lopez on Trae Young, but for the most part, when they go small, they can switch everything. I mean, it's not even small because Giannis is 7 feet tall. So I think Hawks are just going to try to, go offense for offense because, the Bucks didn't shoot well from the three-point line against the Nets, and they're a really good three-point shooting team. So they were missing shots too. So I think the Hawks are just going to try to out-offense them because they're a really, really good offensive team.
If I don't think it'll happen, but if Trae Young does have a historic series and manages to pull this series out,
to talk about.
No kidding. That's not a
lie. This puts him over so many guys.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. We're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Yes, that would be debatable.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about over your boy too.
Which one?
Your boy, the only one I talk about.
AD?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Next topic. Do something, please.
Over your guy.
Trey could be better than AD.
Oh my god.
Who would you take? Who would you take to build a roster on? I would
easily
take
Trey.
Trey.
Oh, okay.
Not stupid.
I know you.
To build a roster, I mean, bro, he's how old? 22.
AD is 26.
But he's injury. He's in like an old 26.
He's built like an old man.
Yeah, he could like blink his eyes and get hurt. He's so soft, but he's amazing at basketball.
It's crazy because you guys asked, like a couple weeks ago, who's more important, Trey or Devin Booker, and then we might see them in the finals. That's freaking insane.
Somebody commented and said that's going to be the finals matchup.
Wow.
I disagree, but
it could
not
happen.
Too far-fetched.
It's really could happen.
Budenholzer has choked so many times in the past and refused to make adjustments. It would not surprise me if Nate McMillan outcoached him and won this series.
Every time he's choked, was Giannis the best player in the series? Aside from Miami.
Toronto, obviously, I lean Kawhi.
And then
Miami, he was the best player.
And then Brooklyn, it was going to be KD, but then,
But Giannis showed up. Giannis, aside from KD's egregious scoring where he was just night in, night out, putting up 35 with his eyes closed, Giannis did everything.
Yeah.
Giannis did everything this series. Giannis really came up. He said, all right, you know what? I'm going to praise KD. I'm going to say he's the best player in the world, but I'm no slouch, even though I didn't like those comments.
I just hope that the Suns make the finals and not the Clippers because I think the Bucks would trample the Clippers in the finals.
I agree. Wholeheartedly,
I think the Suns have the best chance to beat them.
With Kawhi, it's a good series, but without Kawhi...
No comment, man. I ain't going to get into that.
It's the truth.
You got to stop. You gotta
Without
stop.
Kawhi, bro, it's not even close. Trample 4 games. 4 games.
Okay. I ain't gonna say nothing because we gotta get past Phoenix first.
I was gonna say because this is about to be a 4-game series.
Well, Phoenix is an offensive machine.
They're amazing,
Yeah.
and without CP3,
We have Pat Bev guarding Booker. What do you want me to do? There's
that's
nothing I can do
barbecue
about that.
chicken.
Yeah,
barbecue chicken, man.
Come on. Haters.
I'm not hating. I'm being real.
All right.
Listen, if I was a hater, I'd be saying Paul George is bad. I'm not.
I mean, trample though. That's crazy. The Bucks.
I don't think the Clippers have a chance against the Bucks in the finals.
They don't have a chance against the Suns. We don't even have to be talking about this.
You don't think we have a chance against the Suns?
No.
Okay. So you think they're gonna sweep us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I like.
I think it's a 5-6 game series.
5?
It could go 5.
Yeah. All right.
It depends.
Listen, this was the best you guys could have played last game. We're off topic a little bit, but the best you guys could have played.
We had a day's rest. We were on dead legs.
True.
We still put up 114
But
points.
sometimes time's not always the best thing.
Yeah, that is true. But we just came out of a grueling game, so we had to come back from like 22 points.
For sure.
Game 6.
For sure.
Pardon me. Game 6, we had to come back from 22 points. Milwaukee and Atlanta get the little 2-3 day break. We got a day break. I'm tired, man.
Okay.
We'll be back though. 6 games.
6 games.
I didn't say we were gonna win.
Okay.
I didn't say we were gonna win. 6 games though.
The Clippers beat the Utah Jazz in the second round in 6 games, and the Jazz had a 2-0 lead in that series, and a lot of people are putting the blame on Rudy Gobert as the reason to why the Jazz lost the series. So simple. How can the Utah Jazz improve this offseason? What do they need to do? Just to let you guys know, their free agents are Mike Conley and George Niang. So I'm guessing they need to sign back Mike Conley, but I'm curious to know what you guys think the Jazz should do this offseason to get over the hump.
Realistically, I think everything they need to do is up here. I think they've already eclipsed that good to great regular season team. I think they've officially become a great regular season team. Now it's, can they become a great playoff team? We've seen them in the past beat OKC, lose to Houston twice, I believe, back-to-back years. Last year, blow a 3-1 lead. This year, they was 2-2. Kawhi goes down. They blow both games. They was up 20 in Game 6. They lose. So I think they've seen all the adversity. They've seen all the downfalls, and I think now it's up here in the mentality to keep getting better and becoming that great playoff team. Now, I think people saying that Rudy Gobert was the problem, people saying that didn't watch the game. It's not that Rudy Gobert was the problem. It's that the Jazz don't have enough good wing defenders, so when they get beat, Rudy Gobert has to help. I think that is one of the problems that the Jazz have. They need more wing defenders. I think they need guys on the wing that can guard multiple positions, that could guard big wings like Paul George, like Kawhi. Royce O'Neal's a good defender, but they're only like
You're right.
Granted, Bojan, he played good defense on Kawhi, but he's not a guy you're going to put on him every night. You need another guy.
He's an offensive guy.
Yeah, and you need a small ball big, I think. I think Derek Favors was completely useless. I remember I was looking up on StatMuse, and I put his name in, and it said not available. So he's really just a useless player. They need to find a small ball big, somebody where Rudy Gobert is being used, he's being ineffective. You can put out a guy who's still as effective and can put out some numbers and can keep them in the game. So I think those are the two main problems, because you got guys out there guarding Kawhi and PG, and they're not big enough, or they're not strong enough, or they're not fast enough, and Rudy Gobert has to help every time. Even Reggie Jackson, who's killing y'all, and you don't have enough wing defenders. So I think that was definitely one of the problems, because Rudy Gobert helps.
I mean, the thing with that, though, is that how can you really get a wing defender to replace somebody in the starting lineup? Because Bojan is not sitting. Mitchell is not sitting. If you bring back Conley, he's not sitting.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
The only person you could take their place in the starting lineup is Royce O'Neal, and he's their best defender in the lineup on the perimeter. So it makes it tough, and you're right. Gobert has to help on these drives, and I don't know what Utah Jazz were doing. They were either playing a 3-2 zone, or they were playing 4 guys play man. And it was a weird defense, because from what I saw, it was 4 guys on the perimeter were sticking on one man.
And Rudy helps.
And Rudy was just in the middle of the paint the entire time and signaling for guys to guard 2 people and just helping on drives. And because of that, the Clippers got any 3 they wanted. He was late on closeouts, and Gobert had a really bad plus-minus. But I think everybody ragging on Gobert is, for one, Gobert, I think, has become the most hated player in the NBA. Probably not the most hated, but one of the most at
Top
least.
5, definitely.
Because whenever he does something wrong, it's magnified and everybody likes to make jokes about it. But whenever he's playing phenomenal basketball, everybody's quiet. Nobody talks about it. Same thing with Paul George. When he's been playing phenomenal, nobody even cares.
Yeah.
So Rudy Gobert, he still deserved DPOY, but I think this was really more on Quinn Snyder and his coaching. I mean, for every single coach that blows a lead in the playoffs, we always say it's the coach. Doc Rivers blows a lead. Oh, it's Doc Rivers. It's not the players. Quinn Snyder blows 3-1 lead against Denver last year and now blows a 2-0 lead this year against the Clippers without Kawhi. And all of a sudden, it's Gobert. It's not Quinn Snyder. It can't be him. That's ridiculous. I agree. They need a small ball 5 or an agile 5. Names I was thinking, Torrey Craig, PJ Tucker, and I thought
I was thinking PJ Tucker is
popping up. It's crazy
because PJ Tucker is one of the more valuable players in the NBA.
Yeah,
but also I would just think an agile 5. Maybe they can get Daniel Tice. That wouldn't be too bad. He can also stretch the floor. Zach Collins, he's been injury prone, but when healthy, when he does play, he's a good defender. Or Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel would be a perfect player for them. I think he can guard the perimeter somewhat decent.
Good enough.
He's a good shot blocker. He would be really good for them. And I just don't think you can have 2 lineups out there. Or you can have, the thing with the Jazz is that they don't have any lineups that can play small. It's either Gobert or Favors at the 5. That's it. They don't have any lineups that can play small.
They
have to get
one
lineups
time and it was
to get small. I also read some articles about maybe them trying to trade for a player, and some names that came up were Covington, Daniel House, and Thomas Satoransky. Because I also think a backup point guard is also lacking for them. I like Ingles, I like Clarkson, but they need another ball handler because if Mike Conley gets injured like he did against this series, now you only have Ingles and Mitchell, nobody else. Mitchell got doubled because there was no other ball handler on the team that can really do anything.
The problem with that is Clarkson takes every shot he gets. So he's a ball handler, but he's not really a ball handler. He's
a shooting guard.
He's a shot taker.
And also some free agents, Danny Green, James Johnson wouldn't be bad. Trevor Ariza, Tony Snell, Reggie Bullock. Maybe they go after Josh Hart, who would be a good defender for them as well. I mean, there are some options.
Is Rondo a free agent or is he under contract?
He's under contract,
He has
I
a
believe.
player option.
Okay. I mean, I'm looking at this Jazz team, and I hear what you guys saying. They could probably use a little bit more defense, but really, what more do they need? They got to
just said it
for real. But other than defense, I mean, you have one of the best ball players in basketball right now in Donovan Mitchell. You have arguably the best defender in basketball on your team in Rudy Gobert. You have the number 1 3-point shooting team in the NBA. You have Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich, Jordan Clarkson, all these guys that could get you a bucket whenever they need to. Joe Ingles obviously lesser of the 3, but he could still get you a bucket too. I just look at this squad, and the only thing that really sticks out to me is, like you mentioned, Quinn Snyder. He refused to make adjustments last season, refused to make adjustments this season. He gets a break with Kawhi going down to injury, unfortunately. You would think that this series was in the bag. Just did not. They did not seize the moment at all. And I'm baffled that they couldn't get by a Clippers team without their best player. I just don't know what more they could do to better this squad, truthfully.
I think Mike Conley being out was huge for them. And you guys laughed at me. But before the podcast the other day, when I said it, I meant it. The Clippers without Kawhi and the Jazz without Conley are an even team. That's an even matchup. Obviously, Kawhi is a much better player than Conley, but Mike Conley to the Jazz is such a pivotal piece.
The Clippers beat them with Mike Conley, though.
Game 6. But
injured on a hamstring.
I mean, if you play, you play, though.
I agree, but I disagree, too.
And they was up 22. Like, you can't even defend that.
It's inexcusable.
Yeah, you can't even defend that. He played
the Clippers. They were clapping them.
Wait.
Yeah, yes.
That was game 5 or game 6?
No, that was game 6,
bro. Mike Conley jumped in the lineup, and
they were up 28.
They were up 28. They were up 30 at a point.
They were up 28 and lost. Quinn Snyder deserves all the blame. No doubt about it.
I was like, you can't even.
You were 100% right there. Quinn Snyder did nothing.
You thought that was Game 5?
I thought that was Game 5.
He was killing them.
Bro,
Game
Terrence
6, bro.
Mann went to a different universe.
That's what happened.
Yeah, you're right.
Rudy Gobert was leaving man open in the corner. And he's just hitting shots.
Yeah, because they were playing
what
some
is Rudy
weird
Gobert
zone
supposed to
defense.
do about that? He can't guard a guy
But
like
that's
Mann.
the weird defense they were playing.
And that's what you're 100% right there. They need a type of guard type forward. You know what I mean?
PJ.
To the wing, exactly.
Small ball
PJ,
five.
exactly. PJ would be perfect.
PJ's would be perfect for a lot of
So
teams.
they should definitely. We all agree they should bring Mike Conley back.
I think so.
I think so.
I think so.
What team in the NBA wouldn't want PJ Tucker?
The Bulls.
No, I think you
The
guys
Thunder.
would want him.
I think any team that's tanking or not tanking, rebuilding doesn't want him. I think all
The
contenders.
Suns? I don't think the Suns.
No,
need
the
I
him.
think
Suns want him.
the Suns would definitely.
I think
want him.
all.
Why do you say? I mean, they have a guy like. Obviously, I think
He's better than
He's
Torrey
be-
Craig, and he would do more than what
Okay.
Torrey Craig does.
okay.
I think every contender.
Think of
would
like a
want
guy like
PJ
Jay
Tucker.
Crowder. Like obviously, PJ
Jay
Tucker's
Crowder and
defense is
Tucker are
better.
the same, honestly.
Yeah, you put both of them down low.
But I
That's
think
fine.
Crowder-
That's what I'm
Crowder's
saying.
a
That's
better
why they don't
defender.
need him. That's why they don't need PJ Tucker.
You think Crowder's a better defender?
No, I
no.
think Tucker's a better
okay.
defender.
Yeah, you just got your names mixed up.
Crowder's a better offensive player, but really not by much.
He's just
really
a trigger
by-
happy guy. Like he just shoots.
PJ
that
Tucker's
three.
his shot is inconsistent.
He shoots from the. Crowder would
It's only
shoot
the
from
cor-
anywhere.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
PJ's just a corner guy.
That's
He
why.
plays
That's why
through.
I say the Suns wouldn't need him when they have a lesser
But
version
he
of
can
him
take
on
Torrey
defense.
Craig's spot
That's true.
or Saric.
Sarge.
I like Sarge's size.
He got killed by Boogie.
I mean, Boogie's stronger than him, bigger than
I
him.
don't think he's bullying PJ like that. PJ's mad strong.
Boogie's big, dude.
PJ's big. He's just short, but he's a big guy.
He is pretty strong
He
for
is
sure.
pretty big.
Yeah, so it's like
You're a
that would
demon.
be great for the Jazz because Derek Favors does
Oh
nothing
no,
on the
that would
court.
be
He's
enormous.
bulky.
That
He's
would be
bulky.
enormous.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm with
Derek
you. PJ
Favors
is
just
a
be
perfect
out
fit.
there, bro. He's just running.
He needs to be off an NBA squad.
I didn't say all that, but I'm saying he just does a lot
He
of running.
stinks.
Yeah, I mean,
He stinks.
He used to be the third overall. He was the third overall
Yeah,
pick. I
he
believe.
was
Buzz.
actually the Nets guy, wasn't he?
The Nets,
yeah,
yeah.
he's the Nets guy.
He was the cornerstone for the Darren Williams trade.
Oh God,
I
That's
guess you'll take that,
hilarious.
right?
I mean, yeah, at this point, he was actually good at one point in his life.
What, like 2 seasons, 3 seasons on Utah?
That's good enough than a lot of guys. Better than a lot of guys. 2, 3 seasons.
Fair
is
enough.
good.
Fair enough. But for the number 3 pick, whatever it
What do you want him
was,
to do, bro? He's a bust.
I want him to be good.
The Philadelphia 76ers have a decision to make this
Oh
offseason.
boy.
Can't wait.
They got upset by the Atlanta Hawks. We all know that they lost in Game 7. They blew 2 leads in, I believe, Game 5 and Game 4.
Wasn't it 3 in a row?
No, they
It
won.
was 2 in a row.
Oh, 2 in a row.
They blew game 1,
They
won
have
game
what?
2.
Well, I know they have like top 10 biggest leads blown in the playoffs, right?
NBA history?
Yeah, I think they
That's
do.
No
crazy.
way.
I think Doc has like 5 on there.
Oh, that
Because the Clippers
whoa.
and
Yep.
yeah.
Mhm,
in
mhm.
the
But
last
we all
10
know
years.
the 76ers have a lot of decisions to make. And some people think they should fire Doc Rivers. Some people think they should trade Ben Simmons, no doubt about it. And some think they should do both. What do you guys think? Should the Sixers fire Doc Rivers, trade Ben Simmons, or do both?
I think with Doc Rivers, we saw Joel Embiid have the best season of his NBA career. I think we saw Philly turn into that great team in the regular season, become a number 1 seed, granted injuries, but they've had their fair share. I think we saw an improvement in a lot of people's games. So I think Doc Rivers should stay. But Ben has to go. I think Ben's
Surprise.
Ben's stock is a little low right now, but I think you can still. I keep seeing everybody say Ben for CJ, and I'm a little 50-50 on that. I think CJ brings in a different dynamic to the offense. He's a really good shooter at the 3-point line. He's a guy who can get his bucket at the mid-range. He can go to the basket. He can run the pick and roll really well. It may lack on defense, but on offense you get a big upgrade. So I think, but Ben has to go. I think you've reached your ceiling with him. I think at this point, Ben being a guy whose limitations are at this point just mental, and he doesn't. And there's actually a report. I hate using Stephen A. Smith, but there was a report saying that Ben Simmons actually gets coddled a lot. He doesn't work out. He just is off pure raw talent. So if you got a guy like that who doesn't work on his game, who doesn't try to elevate his game, his teammates, you got to ship him out. And I think at this point, him being 25 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
24.
24 years old. He's still young. I'm sure a lot of teams would bank on a guy who is considered around the league an elite defender, a really good playmaker. So I think you can get something of good value to him, but I think you need somebody that revolves around Joel Embiid, a guy who can get a bucket just like him and who can run up there with him and Tobias Harris and fit into that group they have right now.
So this is tough for me.
Of course it is.
It is tough. Can't lie.
Show the camera what you're wearing.
Listen, I'm a fair.
Oh, so that's a Ben Simmons shirt.
It is. Listen, I'm a good sport. You have a bad take. You have an interesting take. I won't say bad. It's an interesting take. You just got to go down with the ship. It is what it is. That being said, this is a tough question for me because before this morning, I felt like either would be an overreaction. Doing either would be an overreaction. More so on the Doc side. It's Doc's first season. His first season with Philadelphia, he makes him the 1 seed. You see Joel Embiid have a breakout year. This is easily the best basketball we've seen Joel Embiid play on both sides of the court. You see other role players start to really learn their role within the squad. And you just have one piece that was consistent all regular season, but come postseason, completely changed the way that his game or his approach to the game. You have Ben Simmons, who you watch Game 7. There were moments where I felt like, Ben's just missing his shots. This was the most we've seen him be aggressive for whatever that was, the first 3 quarters of the game. He went 2 for 16. He did not take an attempt in the fourth quarter. He had a blatant attempt for a dunk in the fourth quarter on Trae Young that was wide open, and instead of taking the dunk, which would have probably propelled Philly, who knows, to maybe a win, completely. You're at home. They're one of the more dominant teams at home over the last few seasons. You see a guy like Ben who's been struggling, throw it down the stretch of the fourth quarter, would have changed everything. But instead, he sees Trae Young. He shits himself a little bit, passes the ball. Inexcusable. It makes no sense. There's no doubt about it. He should have dunked that basketball. Now, you hear Stephen A's comments this morning, and you hear lacks work ethic.
That was from a source. He said from source.
And we know Stephen A's history of text messages, a.k.a. Kyrie and KD going to the Knicks. But regardless, Stephen A. he's well respected. You hear that he's nurtured way too much. He has a bad game. He needs to be babied. He needs someone in his ear telling him all the time that he's the best. It's hard to hear things like that. You're a grown man. I understand you're 24 in NBA. You're a kid. You're a grown man. Get it together. Come on. And listen, I still love Ben Simmons' ceiling. I mean, he if he gets out of his own head, he could really be special. But what I saw from him that Game 7 was sad. It was hard to watch. And so I feel like if any of the two were to happen, it unfortunately have to be Ben getting traded. But it was one series where he completely shut down and he was the worst he's ever been. If he really gets his mind right, if he really cares about the grind, he goes this offseason and works. But how many times are we going to say that now? You know what I mean? So I feel like if anything, I'm going to defend Doc here. I think you leaning towards a trade makes a lot of sense, especially because if he doesn't come to work next season, you're not getting anything for him. You're getting nothing. This offseason, at least he was an all-NBA, all defensive player of the year. Excuse me, all-defense team.
He was top 3 in the voting.
Top 3 in the defensive player of the year voting as well. It's like he's done things in the past. He was an all-NBA player. He's made the All-Star team 2 years in a row. This guy has the accolades for a trade package. But if he doesn't go into the gym next season and really work on his game, there's nothing you can get for him.
Should have been in the gym now.
The thing about it is that everybody now is starting to see Ben Simmons for who he is.
Oh boy!
But
I've been on this.
This isn't new for me. We had a segment on the podcast 4 months ago that talked about will Ben Simmons ever reach his ceiling with the Sixers. And I said, absolutely not. I said he was a better version of Draymond, and I regret those comments because he's not even Draymond. Ben Simmons isn't even close to Draymond. I would take Draymond 10 times out of 10 over Ben Simmons. I always knew Ben Simmons wasn't going to be that guy because he's always been lacking that aggressiveness. And when we first started the podcast, back when this studio was red, one of our first segments was, Who should Philly trade, Ben Simmons or Embiid? That was the thing. I picked Ben Simmons. They should trade him. So
I don't remember who I picked.
That's obvious, though.
I mean, for me at the time, it really wasn't.
No,
it was
people
really
were
a
really
debate.
debating it.
It was really a debate.
Only because it
was before this year.
Embiid had injury issues. That'd be the only reason you contemplate.
Ben Simmons, the most shots he took this series was 11. He had 18, 4, and 7 that game. But then his last 3 games, Game 7, Game 6, Game 5, he shot 4 shots, 6 shots, and 4 shots. Something's definitely wrong. They shouldn't fire Doc Rivers. This series is not on Doc Rivers. He led them to the first seed. He put them in position to win. Embiid playing on a meniscus tear.
That was crazy.
I mean, he
played
amazing. This is a personnel issue and an effort issue. And can some of that be on the coaching? Yes. But I think Ben Simmons just brings this team down. There are some people who just have dark clouds over them, and wherever they go, they just ruin the energy of everybody else. That's Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is the guy that
bad vibe guy.
Ben Simmons is the guy that when he joins your PlayStation party, you kick him out, and then you put the party on private so he doesn't come back.
One of those guys.
Ben Simmons is a bad vibe for this Sixers team. He should be dealt, and I have some trade packages. Obviously, CJ McCollum is one of them, but let's not talk about that because that's been the most popular one everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I have this one. Ben Simmons to the Sacramento Kings for Buddy Hield.
That's it?
Maybe they can get Marvin Bagley in return.
So you mean
why would I do that?
Why would I do that? You get Buddy Hield?
Now the Sixers, who's their ball handler?
They can find one easily.
So you mean they're gonna roll out a big 3 of Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Buddy Hield?
No, you can have. They're still gonna have Seth, Buddy, Tobias,
Buddy's
Embiid.
a walking cone.
Buddy Hield,
he's inconsistent as
Buddy
sin.
Hield shoots 40%.
Let me hear your other one.
It's some nights he's Klay Thompson, some nights he's
That's
Buddy
really
Hield.
the only one I have.
Some nights that's a good comparison.
That's the only
Look
one
at the
I
stats,
have.
It's true.
You know, if I were the
It's true.
Sixers,
Some nights he's Klay, aka he doesn't miss. Other nights he's Buddy Hield.
Clay locks, bro. You gotta remember
I'm
that
just
part.
talking offensively.
Oh, okay.
this is what I think. Buddy Hield wouldn't be bad for Ben Simmons because
That
he's
was
a
crazy.
40% 3-point shooter. If I was the Sixers, I would look into that trade. Maybe get a second player. Buddy Hield and somebody else. I don't know who that's gonna be. Just somebody else. And I'd have a starting lineup of Seth. I think he can run the 1. You have Seth. Danny Green is not going to be there. So Buddy Hield starts at the 2. Matisse at the 3. Tobias at the 4. And Embiid at the 5. So you have Matisse who can be that defender. And then it's just going to be an offensive team. They're going to have to play.
That team is terrible.
I don't
think that team is terrible.
I don't like
I think they're better
That
than
is
with
2 walking cones.
And Matisse is not a starter, truthfully.
Yeah.
Not a
Yes,
starter.
he is.
He's just
not a
like Ben
starter.
Simmons on offense, bro. He's not.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
he takes a shot.
It doesn't.
You could take the shot, but still not make it.
I don't know about that one. That lineup. Those are 2 walking cones in the backcourt. Then you got Matisse and then Tobias. That's tough. Need a guard. Need a 1.
Need a
The thing
guard.
is that this is the thing. Sometimes players need to change the scenery.
Yeah.
Buddy Hield, I don't think he's limited physically to where he can't be a good defender. If he's
think he won't.
He
he's
averages,
playing,
I think, over a steal and a half a game.
Doesn't
I mean,
really
if
play
he's
defense.
playing on a team that wins and there's something to play for,
You think
I think he'd play defense.
I still think they need a playmaker
I think you can
average 1.
find that in free agency.
to start or just come off the bench.
Maybe to start.
This season, you could find a playmaker.
Kyle Lowry could be one of those guys.
That's a good one.
Okay.
I would like, that. I would like that
I like
more.
that.
Yeah, I would like that at the 1.
I like that.
Seth and Buddy at the 1 and 2.
Word, I
Not
agree.
feeling that.
With your initial lineup, I didn't like, but you throw
Now
Kyle
that
Lowry.
now that you're putting Kyle Lowry in the mix.
You throw Kyle Lowry in there with Seth, with Buddy, with Tobias, Ben.
That lineup sucks too. One of them has to come off the bench.
Sucks is strong.
One of them has to come
Who?
off the bench. You're putting Buddy at the 3? Make Seth come off the bench. Or Buddy. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you probably could have Seth come off the bench,
Yeah.
and then you have Korkmaz maybe run it. Yeah,
Him and George Hill run the bench.
yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
You don't think Tyrese Maxey can grow to be the starting 1?
Oh, I agree.
That's a good one.
What's unfortunate
defense,
is
too.
last show I was like, you know what? Maxey was so solid against the Wizards. I don't understand why they're not playing him
He
more.
plays defense.
They
too.
gave him 2. There was like single-digit minutes in the first however many games
He's
he
rookie.
played. I get it.
These
but
are
he
the
was,
players.
He was significant.
These are the players in free agency that they could target that are guards. Derrick Rose, maybe Lonzo Ball, Dinwiddie, Patty Mills.
Lonzo's a free
Shooter,
agent,
yeah.
unrestricted.
Lonzo's going to demand money.
Goran Dragic has a team option that is $18 million. Miami declines that probably. Lowry, Conley, and CP3.
Lonzo absolutely would be perfect.
Lonzo's going to demand a lot of money. I don't think Philly has it.
See, for me,
Why? Because they're
paying Tobias and Embiid the max.
Agreed, but so they're paying Ben the max also.
If they get Buddy's a $20 million man.
That's a fact.
That's why for me, I think you can even have Maxey, Buddy, Thibault, Tobias.
I'd rather that. Yeah, I'd rather that.
And then Seth off the bench. You know, I think.
Do you think Maxey could be a starter?
Yes, absolutely. I think so.
Okay.
No doubt about it.
I like Maxey.
Here we go.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
No, but I love Maxey's game, but I think Buddy Hield, he can space the floor for Embiid, and that's what they need. If you got guys who can really space the floor, that would be great for Embiid, and I think it would be good for them. It would be a really good lineup.
One thing I will say, and this is the only thing I will say to defend Ben, that's it, because there's no other defending Ben. In this game, I saw a lot of Ben driving to the basket, him drawing the double team, him kicking out to his boys, and his boys missing wide open shots.
No, he's a good playmaker.
And he had 13 assists.
He's a good playmaker.
He had 13 assists, and his boys were just missing wide open shots.
Did you watch his post game?
Ben's, after they lost, I completely lost.
Did you watch his post game?
No.
When he brought up the Nets?
Actually, yeah, I did.
When he brought up the Nets, it's that type of mentality, bro. Like, it's just like, why are you talking about
his soft?
Why are you talking about
soft.
the Nets? Why are you talking about I had 13 assists? How much did Trey shoot? Trey was burning you for most of the series, bro.
No doubt.
So it's like, bro.
Ben came to play Game 7 except for the fact he was not aggressive.
And that's what's been the problem
100%
his whole
agree.
life.
I'm reading this article right now because I just typed in Buddy Hield defense, and it's talking about true or false Buddy Hield defensive narrative. It talks about how he's a good on-ball defender, but he just lacks understanding on help defense. But the thing about him is that I think in Philly he could become a way better defender, and he's not just a spot-up shooter. He's one of those guys where you can give the ball to, and he can create a bucket. He can get a basket. I mean, Sacramento, he averaged 20 points per game. You got Tobias and Hield who can average 20, with Embiid who can average 30. Now you got something.
And Sacramento is a very high-powered offense.
Now you got something. I think Buddy Hield would really thrive in Philly. I would love that for them. And I think if they can't get McCollum, because I think McCollum could play the 1 as well, they should get Buddy Hield and then just move Maxey to the 1 or sign a veteran point guard to be that 1.
You just lose that size and you lose that playmaking ability. That's the only thing that worries me.
He was 6'5".
Give it up with the size. The size did nothing. It does nothing.
He did his thing against Trae Young. Game
What did he
7.
do? Oh,
Game 7.
People forget that Tobias Harris is a really good rebounder.
Agreed.
He's a really good rebounder.
And then they have Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Embiid, Harris. I think Thibault can really develop into a starter.
He needs to develop that 3 ball.
He needs an offensive game.
He just needs a 3 ball.
You know, he does need a 3 ball, but I think the gravity of Harris and Hield will kind of mask Thibault a little bit. Because Thibault just has to be the defender. He just has to be the Andre Roberson of the team, if we're being honest.
Yeah, but Andre Roberson was damaging them because of the fact that you can leave him wide open.
But Roberson was not even close to the 3-point shooter. Thibault.
That's what I'm saying.
He's more advanced than that.
But I thought personally that Tobias Embiid could mask Ben Simmons' inability to score the basketball, and that was wrong.
But Ben Simmons is the ball handler. Thibault is not. He's a guy who's going to just be a role player.
Put him in the corner.
It's not as important.
Okay.
It's not as important, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Boys poop.
I think Buddy Hield would be good. That's just me personally.
Poop. No, boys poop.
We'll see.
Some blockbuster news happened earlier in the week. No, last week.
Okay.
And right now, some blockbuster news did happen. Carl Nassib's jersey has been the top-selling jersey today and yesterday.
That's lit.
Yeah, he
That's
came out
lit.
he came out as gay yesterday, and now he has a top-selling jersey. That's
good for him, for real.
So last week there was a blockbuster trade in the NBA, the Kemba Walker trade. Kemba Walker got traded to OKC. OKC got Kemba and the 16th overall pick, and Boston got Al Horford and Moses Brown. Boston and OKC also received another pick, but they're really not important at this point in time. But yeah, I mean, who do you think won this Kemba Walker trade? If you guys don't mind, I'll go first, and I think it was OKC.
Go ahead.
I think it was OKC because not only do you get back Al Horford, who I think was a good defender for them in their time at Boston.
You're saying
they got back Al Horford.
No, OKC didn't get back Al Horford. They traded Al Horford.
No, Boston got back Al Horford.
You said OKC won. You messed us up.
Okay, Brody.
I think Boston won the trade because they got back Al Horford.
Yep.
You said OKC won the trade at first.
That's why you just got mixed up.
Yeah, I'll look it back. I'm not sure. I'll look it back at the film and see where I made my mistakes and build off that. Al Horford was a really good defender for Boston in his time, and in OKC last year, he averaged 14 and 7, so he can still play. He's not a bum. Even though his time in Philly was really bad, now we're kind of seeing it was probably more of Ben Simmons than Al Horford. Because I think Al Horford in this Atlanta series would have been really good for them if it wasn't for Ben Simmons. So that's a topic for another day. Al Horford is going to be their starting center again, I believe, deservedly so. And now it's just about them getting a starting point guard. And I really love this trade because they got Moses Brown, who's 7'2", who has a lot of potential. And we had a topic about him earlier in the season on the podcast because he was having some really
23 and 22,
yes,
I think.
He was having
Boston 23 and 22.
He was having some breakout performances. Moses Brown has a lot of potential. And the problem with Boston's lineup, their centers, specifically the past couple of years, is that they have had small centers. Thompson is 6'9". Theis is 6'8". Robert Williams is 6'8". You even have Grant Williams sometimes playing a small ball 5 who's 6'6". They don't have any size at the center position. Moses Brown gives you that at 7'2". He averaged 8 points and 9 rebounds per game last year on OKC. And there's this narrative about him that after he got a contract, after he was done with his 2-day contract, he started playing really bad. But I checked the other day, like after he got traded, his last game of the season, he had 24 points and 18 rebounds against the Clippers in his last game of the season. So he has 7 blocks as well. So this is a guy who's a good shot blocker. He's 7'2". He's agile. I think he's going to be a really good impact player. And Moses Brown is probably going to be a better player next season than whatever that 16th overall pick was going to be, if we're being honest, depending on who it is, because Sharif Cooper, Keon Johnson, if they fall, that would be amazing. But I think the Celtics won this trade, even though OKC is still set. 16th overall pick. They could have 2 picks in the top 5. Regardless, they're going to have 1 pick in the top 5 with their own pick. I mean, OKC is set. We know that. But the draft is a crapshoot. And I'd rather get proven players in the Celtics. They got rid of Kemba's contract. They got Horford, Moses Brown, who has a lot of upside. I think they won this trade.
I didn't actually have a win. I think both teams won. I think Boston getting another pick. Now they have their pick and another pick of that. Then getting Moses Brown, Al Horford, like you said, some size, some guys who can rough up with the bigs of the East. I think that was much needed. That was been lacking for Boston over these last couple of years. I think what they have to just get is a point guard. But I think Peyton Pritchard is okay right now, where they'll be okay at that position. He's pretty good, plays defense. He can shoot the 3 ball. He's a really good playmaker. So I think getting that, getting Al Horford back, a guy who can, guard small centers, can guard big centers. He's kind of he's only like 6'10", and then getting another big and Moses Brown can kind of all right, we can kind of let Tristan Thompson go if he does decide to go. So I think that was good for them. And with OKC, I think getting Kemba Walker, a guy who's still a solid point guard to pair up with Shai, I think that's good. The cap really didn't hurt them because they still have a lot of cap and they still have a lot of money and they got a lot of young guys on their roster. So I think that was good too. And they, like you said, they still possibly could have 2 top 5 picks. So this trade, I feel like really didn't hinder, or make them any better than what they were. I think it just made it was just an okay move. All right, I guess we want Al Horford off the team, and we just got Kemba Walker, so I guess that's good for them. So I gave it both. I gave Boston a win because they filled their needs that they needed to fill, and they got another pick. And then I just gave OKC. I didn't give them a win or loss because I don't think they won or lost the trade.
I feel pretty much the exact same way. I feel like I thought that it was pretty even. However, I just do lean a little bit more on the Celtics side just because, you get that salary dump in Kemba, where Kemba clearly did not have success in Boston the way that we all thought that he would when he first came to the squad. And I mentioned it when we had this topic the last time on the show. I said, you get Kemba to a small market squad where he really can be the primary ball handler. He could be the primary scorer. I feel like he could be successful in that type of situation. And you go to OKC, it's that exact situation that I was talking about. You have him, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Shai swag.
He does have a lot of swag, bro.
You said Shea right, but you said Gilgeous. It's Gilgeous.
How do you say it?
Gilgeous.
Gilgeous.
That's Nichols' cousin.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah. Shai swag.
I'll never get it wrong again. Shai swag. All right, there you go. Now I can't mess it up. So you get him to a team get him on OKC. You get him you make him the primary ball handler. Who knows? Maybe he could be the Kemba that we saw back in Charlotte. But you go to Boston, You lose his salary. You bring in a center, which was desperately needed. You get a guy who already had success with you. And on top of that, you get a guy who has such a high ceiling in Moses Brown. And you hit it right in the head. Moses Brown, in my opinion, is definitely going to be better than that number 16 pick that they gave up. But you look at OKC side, they had another first-round pick. They have 18 first-round picks over the next however many years, 18 second-round picks over the how many
36 over the next, 5-6 years.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Now it's probably 35.
You can't make
34.
something like that up. So I like the package that OKC got, but for what Boston needed to actually be a strong contending squad, I love the moves that they made. You save yourself some money. You bring in a guy who's had success with you, and then you add some more depth to the big man that you really desperately needed.
I think, in the East with Sabonis, Bam.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Embiid, Big Clint, Giannis. You needed – Boston was extremely I think that's what really hurt them in their heat.
And then
series.
Robert Williams, correct? It's Robert
He's
Williams.
good, but he's 6'8".
But now you get to let him play that power forward position. He's gonna thrive so much more than him playing the center, in my opinion, where he doesn't have to play oversized people.
I don't know. I disagree. I think.
Tatum
he was
center.
complete. He was very. You think Robert Williams is a center?
Tatum plays the 4.
I feel like what they're gonna have to do now with Kemba being gone is you have Jalen play the 2, you have Tatum play the 3.
I think they're bringing back for 1 year.
Okay, I mean,
So
do you think Smart's gonna be off the bench?
No, I would say Smart, Fournier, Brown, Tatum, and a big.
I think I would have Fournier come off the bench. I would have Smart run the 1, Jalen the 2, Tatum the 3, Robert at the 4. That's what you got to do. I mean, what you saw them get killed this season because they lacked a big. So now you get 2 bigs and one who already was successful, one on your squad who was pretty successful last year until he got hurt, and Robert Williams. It's like they're finally getting the squad together.
I don't know. I would not play Williams at the 4 because he can't shoot or space the floor.
Would you play Horford at the 4?
No. I think Williams is a 5, but I
Small
think
ball
he's
undersized.
He's a
5?
small ball 5. That's what he is. He's a small ball 5.
He's what Derek Favors can't be.
Yeah, so maybe a trade with Utah. Who knows? That would be
crazy.
amazing for them. But
So who
I
would
think
Utah give them?
I'm not even sure. I don't even want to think about that. But I think Horford at the 5, Tatum at the 4, Brown at the 3, Smart at the 1, and that 2 guard is the question mark. Or maybe you can have Pritchard at the 1, Smart at the 2, Brown at the 3, Tatum at the 4, and Horford at the 5. Horford is going to start, no doubt about it. I
agree.
think Williams still comes off the bench, and it's really going to be a competition between him, Thompson, and Brown to see who that second string center is going to be.
You think they bring back Thompson?
It depends. I don't know if I think he's still on the roster
I could look.
contractually. I think he's still there.
Where is he? That's a good ass question. I don't remember.
But what players at the 16th overall pick do you think can be there?
That's a rib question.
Sean Highland, Cooper might be there. Jared Butler.
Deshaun Holland?
Nice Sean
Oh.
Highland. He's from VCU.
Next year.
I thought you were just talking
Tristan's
about
on
one
the squad
chance.
next year.
There's a lot of guys that could be there. Kispert could possibly be there.
Jared Butler.
Yeah,
Jared Butler.
I'll look up a mock right now.
Who's the kid from Tennessee?
Jaden Springer.
How about Kai Jones?
Kai Jones is really good. He's a project, though.
Yeah, Kai Jones is actually who they have right now at 16.
Jaden Springer is 18. Yeah, I think he's only 18 years old.
They have Jaden at 17.
Yeah, so it's a lot of, but it's a project. You're getting a project at 16.
I think that's what OKC's really at right now.
So you think OKC leans big? They just traded away 2 of them.
They have Poku and they have Basley.
I think OKC is going to draft Mobley.
Yeah, once they get Mobley, I think they're done getting a big.
Okay.
I think Springer
Mobley
would probably
would be
be the
huge
guy
for
they
them.
get. The younger
Mobley
guy.
could be the second overall pick.
They have him right now as the number 2 projected.
Who they have it too?
Green or
They
Mobley?
have Green so it's Cade, Mobley, Green, Suggs.
No, I'm saying what team is that too?
Oh, I'm sorry, Detroit.
That makes sense. Okay.
The
Detroit
lottery's tonight.
I know what it is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Trust me, I know.
Word,
'Cause
you
if we don't get the 4th pick, I'm shipping out. If we don't get a top 4
I mean,
pick,
where
I'm
are
outta
you
here.
guys right now?
We're projected to go 9, which goes, I think, to Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando.
See?
You want Jalen Suggs?
I actually do. I really do. Suggs.
That'd be huge.
Yeah.
When I play 2K, he's always getting drafted to Chicago.
Really?
That's cool.
Yeah.
He never gets drafted. I hope we get one. I hope that Ball goes and we get the number, because we get the number 1 pick. Oh man,
What's your opinion on Scotty Barnes?
Draymond.
Yeah. Do you think that he falls, or you think he goes relatively high?
He'll be in the top 10.
Okay, because right now he's projected 7.
Who's 7?
Toronto. I don't think they really need that. I mean, you got
They
Boucher.
have OG and Pascal.
Yeah, OG, Pascal.
Can't shoot either. Scotty's really like Draymond.
Or I don't think Toronto needs that at all, truthfully. Especially with Kyle Lowry, might be heading out.
You know who needs that? Sacramento.
Sacramento. Right now, they have them going guard.
Who?
Keon Johnson.
So they're gonna trade Buddy Hield.
Which I don't agree with. I mean, I like your package for sure.
Keon is a lockdown defender.
And I guess with De'Aaron, I mean, right now Sacramento,
De'Aaron plays defense.
They need defense, of course. De'Aaron is.
But then you
perfect.
had Halliburton, so why would you get Keon?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make that much sense.
I would like Kuminga there.
Okay.
Sacramento.
Okay.
Don't have a,
well, Kuminga they have going 5.
well, I know that, but I'm saying because Barnes is, get somebody.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like Kuminga to go there. That's just me though.
Man, I just want to see who gets the 8th overall pick.
Yeah, that should
pick,
be interesting.
That pick is gonna be a bust.
Yeah, you think so?
Most likely.
Is that just history?
So if Cade was there, would you say it's a bust?
Yeah, he's not gonna be there.
I'm saying if he was there, would you say it's a bust?
If Mobley lands to 8, bust?
The history of the 8th overall pick: Ntilikina,
Oh my god.
Obi Toppin.
Oh, so you're saying
Knicks.
Obi's a bust?
Colin-
Hold on. Knicks.
Well,
Knicks.
I'm not
That's
saying
pretty
he's a
much.
bust, but I'm saying it is a possibility. He could
Kevin
be.
Knox?
Look, I'm gonna name
Knicks. No way.
you. I'm gonna name you the number 8 overall pick the last 10 years.
They're all Knicks.
Afro Camino,
Oh.
Brandon Knight, Terrence Ross, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Nick Stauskas,
Hey, Cole Pope. Not a
Stanley
bust.
Johnson, Marquise Chris, Frank Ntilikina, Colin Sexton, not a bust, Jackson Hayes, and then Obi Toppin this past
If
year.
you're a top 10 pick, you should be an all-star.
That's a hot take.
No, that's a fact.
All-Star is strong.
A one-time All-Star at least.
Yeah, at least one. And Colin Sexton's the only guy who's probably going to maybe make the all-star team. It's tough for
You're
him
a
to make.
lottery pick.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Listen,
Lottery
I'm
means
with
you're a
you.
franchise guy.
When you just look at the NBA, it's just drafts really are a crapshoot. You're 100% right. Other than the
I think it's more due to two things: teams having just bad organizations of development, and teams not knowing how to scout and reaching
correct.
for guys that
I
don't
think
deserve to go
the
that
third,
high.
another one would be situations.
Yeah.
very
For
true.
example, I think Anthony Bennett was never supposed to be the number one
That was
overall pick.
ridiculous.
I can't believe
he
it
just
even
jumped
happened.
up boards though. Like he came out of nowhere. Like that was I think
only the Cavs would do something like that.
well, they drafted Kyrie,
All right,
Yeah,
that,
Wiggins.
that was easy.
Deion Waiters,
Thompson, Wiggins.
I'm hearing mistake.
Wiggins was a mistake. You
I
got
mean,
LeBron.
we got Love. Because,
No, you got love, but then
yes.
that led to LBJ.
Yeah,
You guys,
for real. That number, you're right though.
Garland was a
number one
good pick.
Garland was a good
Cleveland
pick.
isn't bad in the draft.
I mean, recently for sure, but other than Kyrie,
Thompson was all right.
he was okay.
Dion,
But
was
he had
like,
LeBron to help him out too.
Oh God,
It's not
LeBron
it's
can't
not
help
a
him get
bad thing.
rebounds.
I mean, LeBron
Come
can teach
on.
him how to run the pick and roll efficiently.
I mean, yeah, but LeBron can't help him do his best job, and it's rebounding.
True or false? LeBron played a significant role in him getting 85 mil, and then we'll go on to the next topic.
All right, true.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Now we're going to talk about the NFL, and that's the last portion of sports we're going to talk about in the podcast. We have 4 segments for this part of the show. First one, which
Gotta go to the
quarterback
No, I'm good.
Oh,
which quarterback do you think is under more pressure next season, Carson Wentz or Matthew Stafford?
Were you looking at him to ask him first, or were you just asking?
You can answer if
I
you
think
want.
he just thought you were about to go to the bathroom.
Oh, that's what we're doing now.
Since-
So you thought I was gonna go to the bathroom?
You can. I mean, I don't know what you were going to do.
Oh no, I'm not going to the bathroom. To answer this, damn. Ask the question again.
Who's
Which
better?
quarterback is under
yeah,
more
exactly.
pressure,
Facts.
Matthew Stafford or Carson Wentz?
Go first. I'm smiling.
All right, no worries. All right, so this is a tricky question, but I'm going to lean Carson Wentz for obvious reasons. Every year, other than his MVP year, he's been on a decline. Then you look at the 2019 season where he definitely showed a good step. You know, he threw for over 4,000 yards. He had 27 touchdowns, only 7 INTs, which is a very good
No
ratio.
receiver with 1K yards.
Yeah, he really had nobody to throw to. He carried that team that 2019 season.
Playoffs.
And then you get into this 2020 year, he is 1,500 yards down. He's 11 touchdowns down, and he's 8 interceptions up. But you're not wrong about the wide receiving core. It really was the same. Their offensive line got significantly worse very quickly. They got old. That's all that it really was. And he's now in a new situation with Indianapolis where he's got a good offensive line. He's got good young weapons. You got Pittman. You got T.Y. Hilton. I'm blanking. I feel like they just drafted someone. Regardless of that, you got Jonathan Taylor out the backfield, Naheem Hines, because you know Carson Wentz loves to drop it off to his running backs too. And Naheem Hines is one of the best pass-catching running backs there is right now in the NFL. So I look at Carson Wentz, and I feel like he's been underwhelming to a degree ever since you had that MVP year where he tore his ACL and where Philly ended up winning the championship without him. And then he goes that 2018 year where he put up impressive numbers again. But
2019.
Both years. So 2018 and 2019. But 2018, he got hurt too.
He was hurt, yeah.
And then Foles came in and basically tried to recreate the championship run.
We actually won a playoff game that year.
You guys should have won another if Alshon Jeffrey actually has hands and catches that ball.
Yes.
And it's just
we were killing
how
New Orleans.
quickly people turned on Carson Wentz because of his lack of talent on his squad. So now you get him into a new organization with the Colts. I just feel like he's going to be under the microscope a lot. I understand why people are going to look at Stafford and be like, you know what? People hold you to this high standard like you're this all-time great. Now what are you going to really do in L.A.? But I look at a guy like Carson who people are completely counting out, which I don't agree with. I feel like he could definitely be successful in Indianapolis, but I feel like people are going to look at him and really scrutinize his game week in, week out, and I feel like Carson Wentz is definitely the one under more pressure.
You look at Matthew Stafford's situation. This is probably the first team in a while that we've seen him on where it's like this is a real shot at the Super Bowl. You know, granted, if the Bucs weren't so loaded, you know, you could look at the Rams. They had one of the best defenses in the league last year. They had a very high-power offense. Now you bring in a guy who's, I think we can all agree, 5 times better than Jared Goff. You know, a guy who can really unleash this offense. It's really phenomenal. But then you look at it on the right side, and, you know, Carson Wentz coming off a year where, granted, you can make all the excuses you want for his team being poorly, but him himself, he knows it. He played poorly. He wasn't reading the offense correctly. He was missing guys. He actually was denying looking at the playbook. He wasn't listening to his coach. So there was a lot of things going on in Philly last year, and Carson Wentz was a main piece of that. He didn't play good. Stepping into Indianapolis with his old coach, Frank.
Right.
Thank you. That's when I do that. That's when you, cause I don't know the name. Stepping in with his old coach that actually was there when he was on his way to winning an MVP, and, you know, the team won the Super Bowl. Indianapolis Colts team who's been, you know, it's been in the playoff mix for a long time consistently. They made the playoffs last year. They've been at the top of their conference for a while. They're a really, really good team. They for the most part, they're bringing everybody back with a few additions. And this team is honestly one of the best situations Wentz could be in. So I think a lot of pressure has to be on him because the AFC has a lot of dogs. You know, the Chiefs, the Browns, the Ravens, the Pats are coming up. Miami coming up. And Indianapolis chose Carson Wentz to be that guy to lead them into the fold. Phillip Rivers just got him to the playoffs last year. They expect big things out of Wentz. They expect, you know, AFC appearances, possibly a Super Bowl. So they expected that out of him. So the expectations are extremely high, especially from a guy who everybody gave up on. Everybody felt like he was washed. He wasn't the same guy he was. So I feel like Carson Wentz has the most pressure because if he fails, it's over. I think if Stafford fails, you know, you still think Stafford is still that guy. You know, he still has that cane. I think if Wentz fails, though, it's a wrap for him. His career is done. So I think Wentz definitely has the most pressure.
These are two different scenarios. Carson Wentz is under pressure to showcase that he can still be a franchise quarterback. Matthew Stafford is under the pressure to win a Super Bowl this season with the Rams because it's Super Bowl or bust for them. They got to one with Jared Goff. They didn't win one. Since then, they've been in the playoff hunt. They've been in the playoffs. Now it's about them taking the next step, and they think Stafford is that guy to take them over the hump. Last year, Stafford, 4,084 yards, 26 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Wentz, 2,620 yards, 16 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. So we know Wentz last year was bad. Because the expectations for Matthew Stafford are much more than Wentz, I think there is more wiggle room for excuses. If you lose in the playoffs by some lucky play or a miracle or your defense folds, something like that, there's more wiggle room because it's hard to win a Super Bowl. For Carson Wentz, you just have to play good. Like, he just has to play good, and if he doesn't play good, there's no more excuses for him. It obviously wasn't Doug Peterson. It wasn't the receivers. It wasn't the offensive line. It was him. And now in Indy, it's his chance to show that he can be a franchise quarterback, because I think Carson Wentz last year showed that he was awful. He had a really awful year. There's pressure on him to keep his career alive, like you mentioned. And because the expectations for Stafford are much more, I think there's less pressure on Wentz, because if you have high expectations for yourself, you're probably going to land right under it or in the middle. Very rarely do people exceed their expectations or higher than what they expect of themselves if they have very high ones. If you have an expectation of yourself where the bar is here and you fail to meet that bar, the middle, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Now you're not even progressing. So that's where I think Carson Wentz is at right now. He has to just show that he's a good quarterback still.
No, I'm with you there. I feel like what you mentioned actually about, or I just think about Carson Wentz and how his injuries have just played such a factor into his career. He had an MVP season. It looked like Philadelphia was about to make a run for the championship with Carson Wentz as their guy. He gets hurt. Year after, they look really good, really strong again. Gets hurt. 2019, he does all the work for Philadelphia. Doesn't really get the spotlight too much. Not really too much credit because of the weak division that the NFC East is. But he did that himself. He was one of the few players that I've seen in the NFL carry a squad to the playoffs. Then you see the year after where he's just overcompensating. He's trying to do too much. And then he fumbles the bag and he has the worst season in his career. And it gets him kicked off of the squad that he just carried to the playoffs the year before. And I see what you're saying with Matty Staffy and how it's championship or bust. So you don't think that Carson Wentz is in that same scenario where I don't think people are going to look at the Colts and be like they should go and make the Super Bowl.
They're definitely one of the teams to do it, but they're not the favorite.
Correct. And then you look at the other side of the conference in the NFC, the Rams definitely should be that team that you talk about making the Super Bowl. You're 100% right there. And so I can see what you're saying with Matty Staffy, championship or bust, and that being a little bit more pressure. But it's people know what Matty Staffy is. You know what I'm saying? People know who Matty Staffy is as a quarterback, what he can do for a team. The fact that he was able to do it for Detroit leads me to believe that he could do it for any franchise, given the fact that Detroit is the worst franchise in sports history and at least football history. And I just feel like Carson Wentz, his career's on the line. And I feel like that kind of pressure is completely different than a championship.
Yeah. With Wentz, everything is internal. Everything is individually. It's hard to, walk in and everybody's doubting you as a player. Nobody's
Correct.
Doubting Stafford as a player. They're not even really doubting. They just can the Rams do it? Can the Rams do it in a tough NFC conference? With a buntload of teams, can the Rams do it? Can Stafford lead them? But him as a player, we know who Stafford is. We know who Stafford is as a player, as a quarterback. Wentz, what is Wentz as a player? He's still a guy who can lead a franchise. And I think when it's internally, when it's the things are you as an individual, the pressure becomes more intense, because if you fail, not only you failing everybody else, you failed yourself because you didn't become that guy you thought you were, and you didn't become that guy that everybody else thought you were. So I think that's like a big thing that's weighing on his shoulders. And like Joel said, all he has to do is play good. But even then, that's a hard task to do, play good, because there's a lot of thought process to that. The mentality is different. There's a lot of pressure on your head, and there's walking in every possession, every play. I can't throw this interception. People are going to look at me different. I can't do this. I can't make a bad play. So it's going to be pressure on him every second of his day. So it's going to be tough for him, no doubt, but I think he can do it.
Some other quarterback stuff that's going on is a quarterback competition in New England between Cam Newton and Mac Jones. Ooh. And Mac Jones right now is a second-string quarterback. He's getting second-team reps above Brian Hoyer, who's been in that Patriots system for a bunch of years, above Jarrett Stidham, who people thought was Tom Brady's successor for a time. Mac Jones, coming out of college, I thought he was the man. I mean, highest quarterback rating, completion percentage in college football history. First year as a starter, winning the national championship. Guys I thought were sleeping on him because he is, quote-unquote, unathletic. He doesn't look the part. But Mac Jones, reports from the Patriots, reporters, beat writers, are that, this guy has been impressing in Patriots camp. He has been really good. And I saw some highlights of their mini camp where Cam Newton in the rain is throwing ducks. And Mac Jones is accurate. This guy is an assassin.
Isn't Cam
cerebral.
still hurt, though? Is he still hurt?
I'm not sure.
I know it was something with his hand, I believe.
And there was a report that came out not too long ago that Mac Jones is going to get a real quarterback competition. So there's a chance he could get the job. There's a chance he could get the job from Cam Newton and be the Patriots starting quarterback. I think that Cam Newton will start the season. And we know because of his play style, he could get hurt, or because of his play style as well and his inaccuracies, there are times where he's going to go on these stretches where he just can't complete really easy and simple passes. And I think if he goes on one of those stretches, he either gets injured or he's playing bad, Mac Jones will play, and he better hope that doesn't happen, because if Mac Jones gets the opportunity and plays, he's not looking back. And his nickname, Cam Newton nicknames everybody on the roster.
Really?
Mac Jones' nickname is Mac and Cheese.
That's tough.
That
is tough.
Mac
Can
and cheese.
you tell me the injury, please?
So it says Newton suffered his hand injury last Friday when the media was in attendance for practice.
That sucks. And then you said Mac's just been he's throwing ducks. Mac has been slaying.
Yeah, he hit his hand on a teammate's helmet.
That just sucks.
So
for Cam.
who do you think is going to win this quarterback competition between Mac Jones and Cam Newton?
All right, go ahead.
All right, I'm going. It's very interesting that you asked me that question, because I think Cam's going to start. I think he's going to be the starter for day one. But, I think Mac is going to win the job a lot sooner than people think. Like, I'm thinking like week 5, week 6, because, with Cam, we've seen the history. Injuries, like you said, inaccuracy. Maybe they're just not getting it done. Bill Belichick needs a QB change. What if they're 0-4, Cam's not playing good, and he just decides to roll in with Mac Jones? There's a lot of situations that could play into the factor. But Mac Jones, coming from an Alabama program, and I know firsthand, seeing how Jalen Hurts works, I know his work ethic. I know he's in there working hard every day in practice, trying to get that starting spot. And the fact that he's already a second-straight QB is impressive, considering the fact that, like you said, Brian Hoyer has been in that Patriots system for a while. Jarrett Stidham was known as Tom Brady's successor, which is crazy. So I think, Mac is going to get the job sooner than later. And the fact that Cam is hurt right now and Mac is slaying practice is going to damage Cam too. And I know that injury is probably going to affect him for a while. But I think Cam's probably going to start day one. And then Mac is probably going to get the job week 5, week 6. Week 6 to be safe, though.
It's going to be interesting
when
Mac Jones starts week 1.
Ooh.
It's going to be interesting because Tom Brady just won a Super Bowl. And Bill Belichick's playing with a chip on his shoulder this year. We just saw Bill Belichick go out and make the most moves he's ever made in preseason history by far, in offseason history. Oh, my God. He had a laundry list of moves that he made.
He felt that chip. That chip hurt him.
100%, because people are going to talk about Brady doesn't need Belichick. Everyone said, Belichick, Brady can't win without Belichick. Belichick's system.
Who won the year after?
He won the very next year he left New England. Belichick's playing this year aggressive, hungry. He wants this more than people realize. And if he feels that Mac Jones is that guy, even for a second prior to week 1, I feel like he'll lean Mac Jones. And the way that Mac Jones has been practicing in these OTAs, there's no doubt in my mind that it is more than possible for Mac Jones to start week 1.
I agree. And I think Bill Belichick is that guy that he, before I say what I was going to say, because of that viral video of that man saying, "You're not that guy," every single time I say that guy, that's the only thing I'm reminded of.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
Before that, I never thought about it twice.
Viral video, I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
See
You really?
One where I was getting clowned with Ben Simmons? You didn't see that one?
No.
He's like, where he said Ben's not that guy, and then he's like, "You're not that guy, pal." I think he's in the shopping market, right? He's in the, I think he's in
I can't believe you.
Somebody was mocking you.
I can't believe you didn't see it, bro. Didn't we just say that he was mad uncultured? This is like the biggest meme going on.
I'm
right
sorry,
now.
guys. I really don't feel me. Like,
look, I'll show you right now.
Good looking king.
That guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. You're not that guy, pal.
He's like a wrestler.
Yeah, he really,
he looks crazy.
OD.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
You think that he's that guy?
He probably is.
You know what's
No
funny?
way.
You know what's funny is that the guy recording was like, "Are you that guy?" He's like, "Absolutely."
What do you really say to that?
Yeah, but what is he saying you're not that guy to, though? Like, he's just saying you're not that guy?
They must have been getting into some beef at the shopping market. Probably cut him in line or something.
Yeah,
he was tight.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
Yeah.
This dude said, "Are you that guy?" He said, "Absolutely."
Y'all have not seen that video.
Is
That's
Mac Jones
crazy.
that guy?
Yeah, he is that guy.
He is that guy.
Mac Jones, mac and cheese.
That's fire.
I
So
thought that he was the most underrated quarterback coming into the draft because for some reason, potential nowadays in the NFL draft is only about your running ability and how athletic you are, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. Mac Jones has everything you want in the quarterback outside of great game-breaking speed, which is not necessary for a quarterback to be successful.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He ran the same 40 time as Dak Prescott, higher one than Patrick Mahomes. So he's not this unathletic Snorlax that people love to act like he is. He's a really good quarterback, and I think if Bill Belichick thinks that he's the best option week 1 starting, he's going to put Mac Jones in, and I think Mac Jones is going to be ready. This guy taught Bill O'Brien the Alabama offense. He taught it to himself, a player teaching a coach an offense himself. That's absurd. I think Mac Jones is ready for it.
Mac Jones taught Bill O'Brien. That's insane.
In Alabama,
That's
yes.
insane.
ridiculous.
That's
Kudos
insane.
to him.
I mean,
He's not that guy,
He's gonna be a stud, and I can't wait because everybody has been calling him a bust. They've been disrespecting his name
For sure.
and I
Mac
think
and
they're
cheese.
I think if we're going by situations alone, Trey Lance and Mac Jones have the best chance to be the best quarterbacks in this draft off of situations alone.
I'm with you.
I agree.
We could be sitting back here 5 years from now saying Mac Jones was the best in that class. We could. We really could. We really could.
I agree.
You really
Mac
could.
and cheese, man.
And I could see it.
I know you're very low on Trevor compared to the majority, but
I'm low on Trevor.
Yeah.
I am low on Trevor. I am.
Yeah, yeah, he's crazy.
I'm low on Fields too.
Oh God,
I am.
I hate
and
you.
you didn't mention your boy not once, surprisingly.
I love Zach Wilson. I'm very high on Zach Wilson, but the situation may mess with him a little bit. And we're not going to see those flashes.
Do you think
maybe
it's going to be
early?
Didn't mean to cut you off there, but do you think it could be similar to Sam, or do you think he's just better
No,
overall?
he's better. He's way better than Sam.
In what aspects of the game do you think he's better? His
Everything.
ability to think on the fly, to
His arm power, his
Okay.
arm velocity, throwing from different arm angles, reading defenses, limiting mistakes.
That's everything.
I think
I feel
he's
like
better than
reading
Sam.
defenses. We're gonna have to wait and see, just because the NFL obviously college different.
Just to let you know, Connor Hughes is a beat reporter for The Athletic. He covers the Jets. He compared his notes on Sam Darnold as a rookie in OTAs and minicamps versus Zach Wilson. It's not even a comparison.
Nice.
Like Sam
Nice.
Darnold was like, it wasn't even a
Not
comparison.
even in his
Zach-
conversation.
struggling against-
Zach Wilson
Wow.
so far in Jets camp has blown everybody away.
Awesome.
Like this guy has been a stud.
Nice.
So I think we're in good hands with
Let's go.
Zachary Wilson.
And your guy is T Law.
Who I think is gonna be the best in this
Yeah.
class?
T Law, that's your guy.
It's tough. It's tough. It is tough. I just think it's hard to go against what everyone thinks when it comes to he was
No,
the
what do
highest.
you think? I don't care what everybody else saying. I'm asking what you think.
It's just I've seen Trevor Lawrence in the biggest games of his career in college fold. Against Ohio State, he folded.
Right.
Against Alabama, was it against Alabama?
LSU.
LSU. He got significantly outplayed by Joe Burrow, and that worries me because, of course, you can beat the rest of these guys, but you faced two quality teams and you had two of your worst games in college.
Right.
Your only two losses in college, and so that worries me for the next level when you're going to be playing good teams every Sunday. And right now, your team is one of the worst in the NFL, and you're being asked to be that guy to completely change that culture. So I
With
feel
that
like
being said,
if I had to take one person right now, I'd lean Trey Lance.
Gangster.
Off situation, I mean, you have Kyle Shanahan, who's easily right now the best when it comes to grooming quarterbacks to really reach their potential. He did it with Matty Ice, did it with Garoppolo.
Didn't do it with Jay Cutler.
He
That was Mike Shanahan too, or Robert Griffin.
Are you saying Robert Griffin? That's debatable because prior to him getting hurt, Robert Griffin was all world. He was
As a rookie, but
correct.
he couldn't develop as a passer.
But passing wise, I'm pretty sure he put up numbers that rookie season.
No, yeah, as a rookie, but
But he tore his ACL after that, and he was never the same. And obviously, you take that dimension of his game where he can't run anymore. And you're right, the passing side of it wasn't as strong.
Off topic, the 2021 NBA Summer League starts August 8th to 17th, and tickets are going on sale soon.
Oh,
It's in Las Vegas.
Why would you tell us about the ticket part?
I'm really thinking about going.
Which game?
I don't even know.
You gotta wait to see who gets drafted.
The Knicks schedule hasn't been released
I thought
yet.
you were about to relate that to the Olympics.
No, but I would, if I want to go to see Cade and to see the guys in person. That's awesome. Going to Las Vegas and going to watch the Summer League game.
That would be pretty sick.
The tickets are starting at $30.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then the flight is
The
better
flight,
be
the Las Vegas, the
300,
hotel,
400.
that's going to be
I didn't pay
expensive.
much for my flight to Vegas.
Really?
How much you pay?
Under 5?
You went on Spirit?
Spirit, definitely under
Under 5?
Hell no.
Yeah, I was about to
I heard
say,
him,
you're
but I had
praying
to-
to God.
Nah, I was on
Get me
JetBlue.
there.
I was on JetBlue.
JetBlue has pretty good. prices.
I paid
Yeah.
132 back and I paid 68 there.
That's all day.
Caught it.
You got
Nice
an
one.
Airbnb there?
Yeah, we had an Airbnb there too. It was like 8
Yo,
of
I
us.
would go. I'll be down to go.
No, that's firm.
Yeah, I wasn't paying $500. Lost.
So it was in total less than 5.
Yeah, it was less than 2.
That's
less
crazy.
than 2.
That's
It was
crazy.
68 there, 132 back.
And Summer League is like a small event, so you
JetBlue, baby.
can. Summer League is a small event, so you could probably get access to the players and probably
yeah,
interview them, ask some questions. There
I need
too.
Cade's signed autograph. I need him to autograph
Yeah,
me.
a rookie signature from K would be mad.
Yeah, because he's going to be the best player in NBA history in like 10 years. So I need that. Like,
I'm gonna get a K jersey to wherever he gets drafted, get it signed.
go. He's going to be better than
Memorabilia.
LeBron.
So on to the next topic. We talked about the
thank
Lions earlier with you mentioned the Lions being one of the worst organizations in history.
All
Now
right.
we're going to talk about something
I
that
couldn't
they
hold it any
did.
longer.
Now we're going to talk about something that they did
You have to
earlier. Yeah.
have
He's
to
going to
know.
go into the bathroom, of course.
Listen, I got to go to the bathroom too. Unbelievable.
This guy goes to the bathroom every single episode. But the Lions, there was recent report that talked about Calvin Johnson because Calvin Johnson didn't want to play for Detroit anymore. That's why he retired. And everybody was shocked when he retired at first. He retired at 30 years old. But the reason he retired is because he didn't want to play for Detroit anymore. And Detroit refused to let him go to another team and try to seek out a trade. And, just 2 questions. What do you think about the Lions organization for not allowing him to go to another team? And where would you have liked to see him play if he was offered the opportunity to get traded?
We see in the NBA where players dictate the league. They say, I want to be traded. Teams comply. They trade this player. But it's not like it's an overnight thing where, you tell me you're going to be traded and then the next day you're on a flight out. You look at the NFL and we see where Deshaun had a similar situation where he requested a trade and they're refusing to move him by any means. And it's carried over into a bunch of other things that are probably Deshaun Watson's fault. But then you look at this Calvin situation, and do I understand why they wouldn't want to trade Calvin Johnson? Of course. This is easily by far and away the best wide receiver that they'll ever have come into their building. And what value could you give me as a team that equates to Calvin Johnson? You couldn't. There's not much that equates to me giving you Calvin Johnson, especially at the time where he came off. I don't want to be incorrect here, but I'm almost 100% positive his last season was over 1,400 yards.
You could double check that. Give you time.
It was 12-14, 9 touchdowns. In his last season ever in football, he finished with 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. He would be one of the best receivers in the league right now with those numbers, and that was the last year of his career. I understand why the Lions wouldn't
How
want
old
to
was he
do it.
too at the time?
He was 29,
30.
30.
29/30, one of those.
Regardless of that fact. Do I understand the Lions not wanting to trade him? Yes. But you're going to get it to a point where people are now realizing NFL really doesn't care about their players. This has been a known fact. NFL really doesn't care about the players' needs, what they want. So when Calvin's one of the OG, Andre Johnson was the same way. He said, get me out of here. Team's like, why would we do that? You're our best player by far. Do I understand? Yes. Do they need to start listening to their players more? 100%. So that's where I feel about that. I mean, do I get it? Yes, but it's tough because now you see a player like Calvin who's an all-generational type talent, and we don't get to see him anymore. And it's sad, and it sucks, and only the Lions could do something like that.
So the Lions refused to deal Calvin Johnson, but this was also the same reason why Barry Sanders retired early, because he wanted to play for another team, and the Lions didn't allow him to seek out a trade. Same way with Calvin Johnson.
Same owner or no?
Same owner,
family?
not the same GM.
The Ford family.
Yeah, the Ford family,
Yeah.
not the same GM, but the same owner.
Okay.
And people have talked about this, and they brought up a good point. Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders forced to retire because the Lions didn't want to deal them. But the moment that Stafford asked for a trade,
Gone.
he got it.
Oh boy.
He got it. So people have been trying to make this a thing about race and stuff. Maybe there's a valid point there, but also the Lions' current GM, I think, is just functional. Brad Holmes, to this point, I mean, I think his first drafting Penei Sewell was a really good pick. Penei Sewell is, a building stone for their offensive line. Hiring a guy in Dan Campbell, who was a culture changer, with Anthony Lynn as the OC, Aaron Glenn as the DC, they have a pretty good coaching staff, and Brad Holmes was the one who allowed Matthew Stafford to seek out that trade. When Calvin Johnson was in Detroit, Bob Quinn was a GM at the time. And Bob Quinn, to this point, the duo of him and Matt Patricia, were known to be very dysfunctional. Matt Patricia was one of the worst coaches in the NFL, probably not worse than Adam Gase. He was probably the second worst
Number
coach.
2, correct.
Yeah. And Bob Quinn was just a bad GM, handing out hefty contracts after contracts, putting the Detroit in the cap hell that they're in right now. But if the Calvin Johnson was to seek out a trade at the time, I would have wanted him to play with Aaron Rodgers. And Calvin Johnson talked about how he wanted to play with Aaron Rodgers. And another guy, obviously, is Tom Brady. I think Calvin Johnson going to New England, having a great receiving threat, or going to Green Bay, I think would have put those teams over the top even more so at the time, especially Green Bay. And that's where I would have liked Calvin Johnson to play. But obviously, the optics of this looks really bad on the Lions organization. But I think they're finally starting to turn for the better because they have brought in a new front office in, new coaching staff in, and it does feel like they're heading in the right direction now.
It's a weird thing that GMs, front offices and organizations think because a player wants to leave that they're just able to keep that player. Like, I feel like we've reached a point where morality is just not.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't
Correct.
exist in the NFL world. Like, why do you think it's okay just to hold this guy because he doesn't want? He didn't play for your franchise for, if I'm not mistaken, 10 years. 9-10 years, like it's not giving. I personally
9 years.
9 years. I personally don't agree with that. I think that's horrible. You have to be a bad human being. I would have wanted him to. I was gonna say Tom Brady too. I would have wanted to see Megatron. We seen Tom Brady and Randy Moss for that 1 year they had. It was freaking amazing. So I would have wanted him, Megatron, to suit up with Tom Brady, have him play. Another guy, I think I would have had him. I think I would have wanted him to also stay with Matthew Stafford, just play for a different team. I don't have a different team on my mind, but I think the way that they was connecting on the big deep threats was pretty amazing. The way Matthew Stafford just throw that ball up and Megatron to catch it over 2-3 defenders, I thought that was mad cool. So I would have liked both of them in two different situations. But I think as a front office, like you said, giving Matthew Stafford, as soon as he asked to give him a trade, I guess you could say that the GM is more functional. But the history of Detroit and their two franchise guys, probably their two best guys in franchise history, and Barry Sanders and Megatron, definitely offensively, they're one of their two best guys. Not giving them what they asked for, I think is pretty messed up in the fact that they did everything they could. They put their bodies on their line for 9-10 years for your franchise, and you've given them nothing back. And the fact that you couldn't give them the one thing they asked for, I think is pretty, excuse my language, fucked up.
You mentioned Green Bay as a destination. Would be cool, but I don't know if it would happen.
What year was that?
2015.
I only say it wouldn't happen because it's in division. Like, obviously, I don't think
Yeah,
that
that's
they
true.
would
Was
ship
Jennings still there?
Greg?
He might have been there or in Minnesota.
on his way out.
Tay was there, but he was young.
I think Tay got drafted in 2017.
2017. Really? Damn. I feel like
A
he'd been
nice
here.
squad that he could have gone to, Seattle. At that time, Seattle really didn't have a number one, and they were dominant because of their defense. But, of course, their offense was good enough. You had Marshawn Lynch being the main guy. Doug Baldwin was really solid for a good amount of years. Jermaine Kearse was their number 2 on the opposite side. You get a guy like Calvin, who now Russ has the luxury of having baby Calvin on his squad with DK. But you would have given him Calvin Johnson during those runs with LOB.
You just call DK baby Calvin?
Baby Calvin. He's baby Calvin. That's pretty fair to say. Obviously, Calvin is eons better
I thought
than him.
Julio would be like baby Calvin.
Julio's he's headed towards the end of his career. Julio's his own guy, and I'll show him that respect. Julio is his own dude. He is a bad man. But to go back to the question, you have Calvin go on to those Seahawks rosters during those runs. Who knows what that offense could have done?
What about Megatron with Big Ben?
They had the three Bs that
they had
time.
exactly. You had Antonio, you had Le'Veon, you had.
Where was Luck in the league at the time?
That is an amazing name, actually, because
that would have been good.
He
Megatron with
only
Luck.
had T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton was injury prone, but when he had Luck, T.Y. Hilton was amazing. Any season that T.Y. hasn't had Andrew,
You get
he's
a big
been
guy,
cut.
Big Meg over there
That
with
is
Luck.
such a good name, bro.
I know.
Andrew Luck would have been phenomenal.
That is fire, man. That is. I didn't even.
I'm mad
think
he
about that.
retired early, honestly.
You don't have to tell me.
He was one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league.
Shares my name.
What's your
My
name?
boy.
Oh, yeah, right.
He said,
What's your name, bro?
No, I was thinking of
You're
last name.
unbelievable. You're
I
unbelievable.
was thinking the last name. I was like, your last name's not Luck? No
Nah.
way. Yeah, that's my fault. Yeah.
It's all right, man. Because I shared the same name with Drew Brees, and who likes that guy?
Drew Brees' name is Andrew?
Just Drew, like Andrew, Drew, short for Andrew.
Pissing me off, man.
What do you mean? I just saying I don't like
Is
Drew
your name
Brees.
Andrew or Drew?
Andrew, but so is his.
Oh, so his name is Andrew.
Correct.
Okay.
Call him Drew for short.
Some
Drew
people-
Brees his name is Andrew Brees.
Yeah, some people's names are really just Drew.
Listen, if it's just Drew, I'll apologize. Let's see. Drew
Andrew
Brees.
Yeah, that name does
Full
suck.
name. Drew Christopher Brees.
I know. Yeah, thank you. I knew it wasn't no.
it wasn't no
I knew it
Andrew.
wasn't Andrew. You tried to make that.
All right, regardless of the fact.
Andrew Brees sucks. Drew Brees is way more smoother. It is.
Like, as a name?
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
You said
Listen,
Andrew.
No, Andrew Brees sucks.
I could have sworn you just said Drew.
Yeah, I thought- yeah.
Drew
Listen,
Brees is
regardless of
cooler.
that, Drew Brees.
You tried
as
to
a-
cap just now.
Gone. Who cares? I'm glad that I don't share anything with him now. Good.
You tried to cap just now. I
It's
called
all
you
right.
capping.
If that's capture, regardless, screw Drew Brees. Glad he's gone.
The last topic of the day is going to be about Cole Beasley. He said that he'd rather retire than get the COVID-19 vaccine. And on Twitter, the NFLPA released their restrictions for non-vaccinated players. And if a player is not fully vaccinated, these are the restrictions they have, or this is what they have to do. They get tested every day. They're required to wear a mask all around the facility and around the team. They must be distant from other players. They must quarantine if exposed to COVID. 15-player limit in the weight room. They can't eat with players in the meal room.
Bro, this sounds
No
like,
social media marketing or sponsorship activities. Can't use the sauna or the steam room,
With other players or just in general?
just in general.
Okay.
And can't leave the hotel room and eat at outside restaurants.
bro, this sounds like when you're in jail and you lost all your privileges.
They can't do any of that stuff if they're not fully vaccinated. And Cole Beasley then wrote a statement and put it out on Twitter that said that I don't care about the rules. Basically, I'm paraphrasing it, but he said that he's still going to live his life accordingly, how he would live it if he was vaccinated. Basically, he's still going to go out. He's going to visit his families. He's going to visit his family. He doesn't care about the COVID protocols. And if the NFL wants, they can fine him. But he's not going to live how they want these players that are non-vaccinated to live. And if it does come to an ultimatum, he would retire.
It sounds like if he doesn't follow the rules, they're just going to kick him out the league.
I don't know if the game would miss him too much. That being said,
Cole Beasley sounds like a rap name.
He actually does make music.
You told me that, but
We
I wasn't
did
really
talk
trying to
about
hear that. But because it's like, it does sound like a really cool rap
He
name.
actually went on a radio station he spit a verse. I swear.
it was fire.
It wasn't bad.
Should I look
like,
it up
was
right
it
now?
bad in terms of what, though? Because you're comparing, I feel like you're comparing it to an NFL
Are we going to
player.
get in trouble for playing this?
I don't think we should.
Because it's that bad?
No, I don't think we should get in trouble if we play the freestyle on the
Oh,
radio
that's what I was
station.
wondering. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to play that right now.
Hey, why not? If it's good, it's good. But let me just... Oh, wow. I got it.
I hope this is good, bro.
I don't even know if it's going to pick up in the mic. Just play like the first 30 seconds.
All right, here we go.
He stole it. He sounds like Logic.
He does sound like Logic. OD. All right.
That wasn't
That's a
bad.
pass.
Yeah, he's
That
not.
was good
He's
flow.
not, I
That
told
was
you
good
he wasn't
flow.
This
bad.
is a passable rapping.
He sounds like Logic.
one thing I want to say about the NFL, they're bullying players to get the vaccine. And I'm saying this as someone who's vaccinated, who wants people to go get vaccinated. With all the rules and regulations you just listed, they're bullying players to go get vaccinated. They're singling you out for not partaking in what it seems like they want everyone to do. Do I understand to a degree? Yes, but a lot of these seem egregious. Not being able to use the sauna, not being able to eat with teammates. Like the whole thing about NFL is team chemistry. It's a 52 unit. Like, you need team chemistry, and because guys have a specific opinion, you're going to make them completely miss out on all those things.
You know what doesn't make sense is I don't know how the NFL had its rules last year when they played with COVID, but I guarantee that even when we didn't have the vaccine last season, players were still able to eat together.
Yeah, no doubt.
And now that you have some that are vaccinated and some that are not vaccinated, they can't eat together. I just think it's crazy, and people make a good point when they say that if you're vaccinated, why should I be restricted to sit with you if you're vaccinated? You shouldn't be able to pass it to me. And even though if you do have your vaccination, you can still get COVID from other people, or you can even spread it. You can get it.
Look at CP3.
So you can still get it. You're not immune to it if you do get the vaccination. But I do think it is a bit crazy. And the whole thing about the wearing masks, I get it. But even Dr. Fauci in his emails has said before that the masks aren't fully effective and the masks don't really do much to, stop the spread of COVID. So to have these mask restrictions and these rules doesn't really seem to make much sense, especially after Fauci has said that they're not that effective. But regardless, we said this before. I'm vaccinated. I already got my second dose, but I just think that people can make their own decisions.
Correct.
And they have to face the consequences of those decisions. But at the end of the day, I don't think we can stop people that aren't vaccinated from living a normal life if they don't decide to get vaccinated. Because at the end of the day, is there skepticism with the vaccination? Yes, there is some. For sure. I don't think that it's crazy to say that. This is a new virus, right? We were just exposed to it last year. Do people have the right to feel skeptical over a vaccine that was made a couple months or like a year later? Yes, I don't see that being egregious. I don't think, people have the right to feel skeptical over something like that. And, he said that he'd rather retire because he wants to live his life the way he wants to live.
I'd rather die.
No, he said he'd rather retire.
He says that he'd be a goon.
He actually did say that all our time is short, all of our time is coming, and if COVID does kill me, then let it kill me.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins said the same thing about it. Earlier in the offseason, he said the same thing. I think it's people's own personal decision. I don't chastise anybody from if they do get it, if they don't get it. I really don't. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, honestly.
It has nothing to do with you.
It's your decision. You choose to do what you want to do.
I mean, we're sitting here, you both are vaccinated, and I'm not vaccinated. That's like you telling me I can't come to the show.
Put a mask on, bro. What?
Yeah, it's like you telling me I got to straight Zoom you from now on because I'm not vaccinated. Like, that don't even make sense.
We should start doing that, actually.
Think so?
Nah.
I'll slap you.
No, you will not. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the NFL is just doing way too much.
OD.
Like, it's Cole Beasley's life. It's his medical thing. Like, y'all not doctors. I can't tell him what he can and what he can't do. If he doesn't want to get vaccinated, he doesn't want to get vaccinated. Now, granted, I understand the rules, but I feel like the rules are a bit excessive because, like you said, last year people played and we didn't have a vaccine. I'm pretty confident the teams were still eating together. You can still get in the sauna. It's just they had certain amount of people. It was certain limitations, but that's like you're basically saying he can't do anything, and like his life is basically going to be restricted in a hotel for most of the time. Like that's like I don't like that. I don't think Cole Beasley should play no more if that's the case. I don't think he's going to get vaccinated. Obviously, he's really on that point where I'm not going to get vaccinated. I'm going to continue to live my life. So I don't think he should play in the NFL no more because that's just disrespectful at this point.
It's not like NFL players ram their heads into each other every week in practice.
Don't
right?
they still shower?
I don't think that like that's
don't they
dangerous.
Still shower together?
I'm not even sure, but I don't think hitting somebody full speed in the head every week is dangerous.
Correct.
Right?
Breathing right here, right on top of
you. Yeah,
dudes are slamming me on my neck.
Spread COVID at all, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I was ready to go in.
That's actually a good point because These guys are lining up to the other guy,
breathing hard,
having
as hell.
full contact with them, getting their sweat on them, but all of a sudden they can't eat in the same room together because of.
It's like I was ready to go in on Cole Beasley, and then you just read me all those restrictions. I feel Cole Beasley. It's like
it was jail.
It's legit.
He's in jail.
It's
He gets
jail,
paid.
and it's singling out and bullying these guys to make a decision.
He's a grown man.
Correct, which is why I would not be happy doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think people make their decisions for different reasons. Some people don't get vaccinated because they don't trust the science behind it for whatever reason they might have, or their religion, their faith. They have different reasons for what they do. Regardless, it's your own decision. And I don't know why it became popular to know if somebody's vaccinated or not vaccinated, or why these reporters are asking these players. Cole Beasley didn't get asked, by the way. He just was tweeted. He went on a Twitter storm about this.
Tirade.
But they did ask Sam Darnold if he was vaccinated. I don't think that's something a reporter should ask a player. That's your personal business. That's like somebody asking you if you have like HIV or something, or like you have like some sort of medical condition.
Yeah, that's
like
way
I
too
think
personal.
I think that's private. What you choose to do medically is your own decision, and nobody in the media should be asking you about it.
I agree. You know what else I agree to? Cole Beasley retirement. Like you said, it's not really gonna put a blimp in the NFL's. Like, you know, he's like, if he leaves, he leaves. It's like whatever.
I don't get.
He should be a rapper though.
He should be a rapper, but I really don't get.
I think he'd be a good rapper. Honestly,
He did his thing there.
Yeah,
that
was a
20
good- that was- that's a throwback flow too.
That 20 seconds was enjoyable.
That's a back in the day beat, and he just jumped on him.
Nah, he did his thing. It's gonna get to a point where players are not gonna talk to media and treat it like how Kyrie treats the media, how a lot of people single out the media and start to ignore them. It's like, I agree with you. Do I understand why people ask? Yes, because they want to feel safe, that they're around them and all that stuff. But ultimately, it has nothing to do with anyone but that one person. So that's the only thing I'll say on that. And I kind of support Cole Beasley. Even though I support people getting vaccinated, I support him in this situation.
Yeah, I agree. I support people for getting vaccinated as well. But then again, it's your own personal decision. I'm not going to chastise anybody for whatever they choose to believe in or choose to do with their own bodies. There was this comment I read on one of the Cole Beasley videos, because I was searching up Cole Beasley videos on YouTube, and I wanted to hear other people's perspectives on it. And I saw this comment that said that, because I think most of this like vaccinated stuff is obviously it's science, so I'm not trying to just generalize one political party. But it seems like most of the bullying is coming from the left. And somebody commented how, like, on the left, they're not pro-life in terms of, like, they agree with women getting abortions and stuff, where people on the right are more pro-life and they don't want abortions to happen. Mm-hmm. And people on the left are like, oh, women can choose to do what they want with their bodies and stuff and get abortions. But when it comes to getting vaccinated, if you choose to not get vaccinated or get vaccinated, but mostly you choose not to get vaccinated, all of a sudden you get bullied for it in the media. And lefts try to bully you and try to, call you all these different names. And I thought that was a good point, and I think that's how politics works to an extent. But also, this is a science thing, and people make their own decisions with the research that they do. And in this age of the internet, there's information on everything. If you want to argue one point on one side of the spectrum, you can find all the facts and talking points for that side. Same thing with any topic. So it is a tricky situation, but people should do what they feel like they should do and what's best for them at the end of the day. So this is going to do it for episode 94 of the Pick a Side podcast. We had some basketball topics. We had some football topics. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys liked it, you guys can write a review and rate our podcast on Apple Podcast. And if you made it this far, might as well give us a 5-star rating. It doesn't hurt anybody. Only helps us and helps you, because it helps us grow in the algorithm. So it's a win-win for everybody. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.